American Comics, starting with Superman. Greetings, fellow multiversal adventurers. It's an honor to have you back in this saga that has us all hooked. Official channel statement: this story is 100% epic fiction, so please don't attempt real magic. The results aren't guaranteed and insurance won't cover it. The rights to this masterpiece belong entirely to its brilliant original author. We are just a barge sharing it with you. Do you want to keep being part of this amazing community? Join our ninja army of subscribers on YouTube and give this content a like. And for true fans, our Patreon has exclusive ninjutsu waiting for you. Chapter 101, Enhanced Bane. Gotham felt as if it had endured an incomparably long night. Especially as the people watched a madman on live television. This madman possessed a nuclear bomb capable of blowing up Gotham, and he was threatening to forbid any outside military intervention. Otherwise, it would detonate prematurely unless Batman could stop him. Bane had occupied a sports center and installed a hyper-reactor there. He himself lay in the stadium's manager's chair, leisurely playing with an M416 rifle. "Boss, there's a mercenary outside looking in," his subordinate called, knocking on the office door. "Someone looking for me," Bane thought for a moment, then said lazily, "Yes, let him in." Then, the office door opened, and a white man, cigar in hand, swaggered in. Bane glanced up and recognized him, the president of LexCorp and Lena Luthor's personal mercenary. It was rumored that the two had a special relationship. "Tate, what brings you here? Didn't you say our partnership is over?" Bane stood up from his office chair, straightened his clothes, and said. "The Avengers are here," Tate said simply. "Avengers, you mean, the aliens involved in the Battle of Metropolis?" Bane was of course aware of what had happened in Metropolis not long ago. Like most people, he also mistook Leah for a Kryptonian. Yes, according to reliable sources, the Avengers brought 2 more people. "Bane, while you can monitor all the bridges and roads in Gotham City, you can't monitor the entire sky," Tate said with a smile. Bane snorted disdainfully. "If you're here to show off, LexCorp has its own satellite, so there's no need for that. You're no match for the Avengers," Tate said bluntly, pulling out a cylindrical, metal-clad syringe from his pocket. Through the glass, he could see it was filled with a viscous yellow liquid. He handed the bottle to Bane and said, "This is our company's latest bio-enhancing agent. Specifically, it's a tenfold dilution. Would you like to try it?" Bane narrowed his eyes, examining the metal syringe. "Tenfold dilution? Why don't you give me an undiluted version?" "Forget the undiluted version. Even a tenfold dilution wouldn't be tolerated by the average person. But we've studied your blood sample. Adapted to the GL-11 venom, should be able to withstand a diluted serum, theoretically," Tate said, like a ruthless salesman. "Interesting. You know, if I can't handle it, then our agreement is void." Bane held the syringe, staring at Tate, as if trying to read his true thoughts. Tate nodded. "Of course, I won't cheat you, it's crazy, but I like it. In this situation, most people wouldn't choose to inject such a supposedly enhanced drug of unknown origin." But Bane was no ordinary person. A glint of madness flashed in his eyes. He flicked the syringe cap with his thumb, revealing the needle inside, and then stabbed himself in the arm. The viscous yellow liquid was injected into Bane's veins. A burning sensation spread, and Bane's skin suddenly turned red. Bane's entire body was burning, like a cooked lobster. The sweat that escaped him was evaporated by the scorching heat. This was a sign of physical collapse. Even Bane, a superhuman, couldn't withstand the power of this enhanced serum. Tate's eyes flashed with cold disappointment. He shook his head, calmly stepped forward, and raised a finger to point at Bane's head. Flash. Roar. Bane let out an inhuman roar, starting the mercenaries outside and rushing in with their guns drawn. Seeing their leader's condition, they all looked at each other in bewilderment. The next moment, Bane's reddened skin faded, and his muscles swelled and twisted twice as much as before, making him look even more ferocious, like a brown bear. Power. Intense power. "Ha ha ha, you're telling the truth," Bane panted heavily, but his condition had indeed stabilized. When he looked at Tate, the disappointment in Tate's eyes vanished, replaced by a professional smile. "Congratulations, Mr. Bane, for being the first survivor of the enhancement potion. Would you like to test your newfound strength?" Tate suggested with a sly grin. Bane chuckled, then looked away from Tate, turning his gaze to the other men in the room. Bane's gaze startled the men, and they instinctively took a step back. But then, a flash of light appeared before their eyes as Bane's figure swiftly approached. With 3 punches and 2 kicks, the mercenaries were sent flying, shattering the wall behind them. Looking again, they saw a large slab of their necks and chests caved in, their bodies seemingly deader than dead. Snap! 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 Tate applauded. Actually, you don't need those gas tubes anymore. Bane casually pulled one out and chuckled. I'm not sure, but I suddenly thought it would be nice to keep them plugged in. That afternoon, all of Gotham's media outlets were in force, their cameras trained on the Gotham City courthouse. There, a duel would decide the city's fate. Batman vs. Bane. Gotham's police force had been utterly decimated, and the few that remained were no longer a threat. The outside forces stationed around Gotham, wary of Bane's nuclear weapons, remained cautious. It seemed as if all hope rested on Batman. If he won, Gotham City would be saved. If he lost, Gotham City would be reduced to scorched earth. Bane had already arrived with his men on the steps of the courthouse, surrounded by his tanks and armored vehicles, or rather, equipment he had looted from Wayne Enterprises. It's almost time. Why hasn't your hero, Gotham's Dark Knight, appeared yet? Or is he just a coward, hiding in the shadows and afraid to face the world? Bane shouted to the news media below. His body had become significantly larger due to the effects of the enhanced serum, and with the armor covering his warped skin, he exuded a menacing aura. A whoosh sounded through the air. A batarang pierced a marble pillar at the courthouse entrance. The sight of the dart brought cheers of joy to those present and those watching from their televisions. Chapter 102, A Mercenary. A dark figure descended from the sky, like a black ghost, spreading its bat wings and descending from the sky to the ground. The Batman moment appeared, the citizens of Gotham City cheered. Haha, our other protagonist is finally here today. I almost thought you were too scared to show up. Bane leaped down the steps of the courthouse and appeared before Batman. While Bane was still Bane, Batman could clearly sense a distinct difference in the criminal before him. Putting aside the terrifying aura that seemed ethereal to mortals, Bruce Wayne could clearly sense that Bane was significantly more muscular than yesterday. Just as his own armor, with Leah's help, had dissolved the remaining Kryptonian metal, completing the forging of the Kryptonian alloy suit, Batman now wore the complete, true Kryptonian alloy batsuit. No point in talking, Bane. Prison is where you belong. Batman. Bruce Wayne's voice was deep and muddy. He activated the power supply on his batsuit. The thick, jet black suit seemed to be fully charged, and the eyes and chest glowed blue. The battle was about to begin. Batman rushed out, looking like a heavy tank, and with steady steps, he crashed into Bane. Bane's mask made his expression invisible to outsiders, but Fyra, looking down from the roof of the courthouse, could clearly see that Bane's face was filled with sarcasm. With a loud bang, Batman rushed into Bane like a mad bull. The nearly 400-pound Bane was sent flying backwards, flying a distance in mid-air before landing on the steps leading to the courthouse. The marble steps shattered like chocolate, and Bane sank deeply into the rubble, drawing cheers from the surrounding crowd. After a successful strike, Batman followed suit, rushing toward Bane and unleashing a barrage of punches, hammering down on Bane's face and chest. Clad in thick armor, Batman's attacks were much slower than usual, but each punch carried at least 4 or 5 times the force of previous blows. Boom, boom, boom. With each blow, the crowd faintly felt the ground tremble. It seemed to them that Batman had pinned Bane to the ground with overwhelming superiority. Well done, Batman. Kill this criminal. How dare he threaten us with a nuclear bomb? Kill him. Eliminate this scourge of Gotham City. Whether at the scene or those watching at home, the sight of Batman beating Bane swept away the gloom of the previous night, as if witnessing the moment the crisis was resolved. However, Bane, having been pinned down and beaten by Batman, suddenly headbutted Batman. With a thud, Batman felt as if he had been struck by a club, completely dazed. Clutching his head, Batman stumbled back a few steps, falling nearly. Bane slowly stood up and dusted himself off. Batman, I'm surprised your strength is so much stronger than yesterday, but you still can't save your city. Batman watched Bane approach him and attacked again, striking Bane's neck with a slashing hand, followed by elbows and knees, a torrent of blows. But Bane remained unmoved. After Batman finished his blows, he kneed Batman in the stomach, sending Batman reeling like a roasted shrimp. Then, he unleashed a barrage of blows, his fists like 2 sledgehammers. With just a few swings, he had the heavily armored Batman lying on the ground. Finally, Bane reached out, grabbed Batman by the neck, and lifted him up. You're counting on this man to save the world? It's over. Gotham City will usher in destruction and rebirth. Ha ha ha. Bane's eyes suddenly turned fierce. The surrounding journalists were stunned for a few seconds before finally bursting into screams and fleeing like birds and beasts. News of Batman's defeat spread like wildfire, and instantly, Gotham City was plunged into panic and chaos. His strength completely surpassed that of yesterday's Bane. Yet, he still lost. There was only one explanation: Bane had also grown stronger. Bane, stop the hyper-energy reactor before it's too late. Batman desperately tried to pry Bane's fingers free, but his fingers were like iron clamps, tightly gripping his neck. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't break free. Don't bother trying. Being a hero is nothing but a ridiculous lie. Batman, you're a joke, Bane taunted mercilessly. Batman swiftly spun his legs around Bane's arm, then pierced the tubes on Bane's shoulder with the instep of his foot and yanked them away. Puff. 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 Batman yanked out several tubes on the right side. He then slammed his legs into Bane's chest and delivered a powerful kick. Bane was knocked down again, and Batman rolled in midair, landing smoothly. Bane, you lose. Oh? Really? Bane, who should have been completely depleted by the removal of the gas tube, stood up as if nothing had happened, glaring at Bruce Wayne with a playful expression, as if he were looking at a clown. Leah and Diana appeared together at the sports center, hovering high in the sky. Leah scanned the situation below with her X-ray vision. The nuclear bomb is in the underground parking lot. Besides those guarding it, there are 102 mercenaries in the entire sports center. Diana tilted her head. I'll go in through the front door, you through the back. Whoever eliminates all the mercenaries first gets to go into the underground parking lot first. How about that? No problem. The two separated, entering the sports center one after the other. Even without using a speed domain, Leah could silently dispatch the mercenaries. He and Diana swaggered in, instantly dispatching the patrolling mercenaries before they could even report the situation. Leah showed no mercy to these mercenaries who were responsible for these terrorist acts, naturally killing them one by one, even if they came in pairs. Soon, he was the first to reach the sports center's underground parking lot, and Diana caught up with him 2 seconds later. The parking lot was enormous, illuminated by lights, making it look like daylight. Leah could sense the intense nuclear fusion reaction taking place within a transparent, man-sized ring-like device. Now, the game's over. Hand me the remote control for the nuclear bomb, Leah said to the man standing next to the bomb, his back to him. In his hand, he held the remote control that would detonate or terminate the nuclear fusion. The man next to the bomb slowly turned around, and Leah saw his face clearly. He quickly searched his memory bank for information about him. I remember you. You're the mercenary who followed Lex back then. So, are you with Bane now, or is Lena Luthor involved? Leah asked, narrowing his eyes. Tomorrow, Sanjiang. Chapter 103, Ares. The mercenary standing near the nuclear bomb smiled. I don't work for Bane, nor do I represent Lena Luthor. Honestly, Lena Luthor is much better than her brother, at least in some ways. Of course, that's not what we're discussing today. He raised the remote control in his hand and said with a smile, you want the nuclear bomb remote control in my hand, right? Leah remained silent. With a thought, time around them instantly stopped. A speed field. He slowly walked towards the mercenary Tate, reached out and snatched the nuclear bomb remote from his hand, then returned to his original position. The speed field suddenly disappeared. Leah smiled at the mercenary Tate and raised the nuclear bomb remote in his hand. It's in my hand now, but the mercenary's reaction was surprisingly calm. Explode, and pressing the explosion button will stop it. Diana also noticed this and approached Leah to warn him. Leah pulled out his phone and Googled specialized knowledge on remote control circuits. Then, with his brain pumping full power, he spent 2 minutes poring over dozens of specialized books, such as Principles of Infinite Remote Control Circuits and Design and Analysis of Remote Control Circuit Diagrams. I feel like I can get a certificate in a related field straight away, Leah said, putting his phone away. He then scanned the nuclear bomb remote control in his hand with his X-ray vision. Although the books he'd read dealt with remote controls for televisions and other civilian devices, the principles underlying all remote controls were the same. After examining them, Leah found nothing unusual. There's nothing wrong with the remote control, Leah said doubtfully, continuing to operate normally. Leah pressed the stop button several more times, but nothing happened. He smiled knowingly. Where's the real remote? Or does this nuclear bomb actually have no remote control? This is the remote Bane gave me. If it's fake, then there's no real remote control. Perhaps this nuclear bomb was destined to explode from the start. The mercenary Tate shrugged nonchalantly. The super energy reactor was still operating. Once its fusion reached its peak, it would explode. According to the instrument data, it had already reached 70%, and the expected time was 2 to 3 hours. It doesn't matter if there's a remote control or not. I'll just throw this nuclear bomb out of Gotham City, Leah shrugged nonchalantly. Then you have to hold it steady. Since this reactor was placed here, all protective devices have been removed. This means that even the slightest shaking will accelerate the fusion reaction and may even cause a premature explosion. Tate's smirk made Leah very upset. His eyes suddenly turned red, and a fiery light erupted. 2 parallel red rays shot towards Tate. Zzz. But after the heat vision landed on Tate, his figure suddenly vanished. Leah controlled his gaze, preventing it from reaching the nearby energy reactor. Are you so soon, Avenger? If I'm not mistaken, the nuclear explosion won't kill you, will it? Tate's angry voice came from behind Leah and Diana. They turned to see that the man had suddenly appeared behind them. Who are you? Diana drew the Vulcan sword, which she hadn't drawn when dealing with the mercenaries above. Leah's eyes narrowed slightly. If you were moving at high speed, he would definitely be able to see his trajectory, as his speed was no less than that of a speedster. However, this person wasn't moving at high speed. Instead, he had teleported behind them. Who am I? I've been asleep for so long that I almost forgot my name. The man's eyes dropped slightly, as if he was reminiscing about something distant. Ares. You are Ares? Diana's voice trembled, not with fear, but with excitement. Her mother, the Queen of the Amazons, had always told Diana stories from the Age of the Gods. Ares, the god of war, was the destroyer of world peace and the instigator of endless wars. His existence plunged countless people into the abyss. Now that she had seen Ares in person, Diana felt that it was time to fulfill her destiny. After hearing the name Ares, the man's appearance changed instantly. He changed from a white mercenary to a wheat-skinned middle-aged man, but his hair and beard were all white, and there was no light in his eyes. Ares, yes, Ares, the god of war, the only surviving god on the Age of Gods. Oh, no, now there's you. Diana didn't listen to Ares' words at all. She held the sword of Vulcan in both hands and walked towards the man step by step. I, Diana from Paradise Island, daughter of Hippolyta, Queen of the Amazons. On behalf of all the good thoughts in this world, I am here to fulfill the mission of the Amazons and expel you, Ares, from this world. After that, Diana shouted, raised the sword of Vulcan, and stabbed it at Ares' chest. As the Vulcan sword was about to pierce the opponent's heart, Ares raised his hand, and Diana's Vulcan sword pierced his palm. The once indestructible sword, now seemed made of paper, instantly crumbled and turned into a pile of dust. Diana, only the hilt of the Vulcan sword remaining in her hand, looked incredulous. God-killing sword? How could it be? Ares sneered. You call this boring toy the god-killing sword? Don't be naive. Only a god can kill another god. Before he could finish, 2 blazing beams of light came crashing down, slamming into Ares' protective divine power and pinning him to the ground. The ground around him cracked, and hideous cracks spread out in all directions. Leo slowly descended from mid-air, his red eyes gradually fading. You dare to show off here? Do you have my permission? Gotham City, outside the courthouse. Batman Bruce Wayne thought that removing Bane's gas tube would render him powerless, but Bane stood before him, unfazed. Batman, you know nothing about strength, Bane roared, his fist crashing into Batman's chest like a cannonball. Boom. With a bang, Batman shattered the thick marble pillars at the courthouse entrance. Batman climbed out of the rubble. Calm down. What he lacked in strength, he made up for with intelligence. He scanned his surroundings and mentally simulated various battle plans based on his equipment and weapons. Viola, bored and standing on the courthouse rooftop, thought Batman had reached his limit and was about to go down to reinforce him. After all, Leah had instructed him not to let Batman be killed. However, Viola noticed that Batman, despite being at a significant disadvantage, showed no sign of surrender. In fact, his eyes were even more serious than before. With such an unequal power, is it possible to win? Viola became interested and watched the battle below with even greater attention. Chapter 104, Battle with Bane. The battle between Batman and Bane was no longer confined to the courthouse. This was their home turf, after all. Batman knew every street and every building in Gotham City. His understanding of the city was far more profound than that of Bane, who had only recently arrived. Swish. 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 Batman's figure darted between the surrounding floors, and Bane caught up. As Batman was about to disappear from his sight, Bane angrily lifted a car from the roadside and slammed it into the building ahead. Boom. A spiderweb of cracks ripped through the building. Fortunately, the residents in the area had taken refuge in bomb shelters, allowing Batman to fight freely. The next moment, the sound of a swaying cable echoed, and Batman, swinging from a distance, flew in, using his momentum to deliver a powerful kick to Bane's back. With a thud, Bane, like a tumbling ball of flesh, crashed down the wall in front of him. Roar. Damn Bat, you've pissed me off, Bane roared, his eyes catching Batman's. He ripped chunks of concrete from the wall, hurling them at Batman like shot puts. Batman smiled at the rocks Bane threw, retracting his cable and soaring into the air, kicking through a window pane before decking into the building. Coward. Coward. If you don't dare to fight me head-on, I'll detonate a nuclear bomb and blow all of Gotham City apart, Bane roared, leaping up and crouching on the wall like a gecko. Boom. Batman had attached a bomb to Bane's wall, waiting for him to catch up and detonate it. The flames blasted Bane back, his clothes scorching, revealing his distorted, muscular form. What have you done to yourself, Bane? In the darkness of the room, Batman observed Bane's distorted muscles. He hadn't been like this yesterday. Bane ripped off his torn clothes with a smirk. He and Batman harbored no deep hatred, but his choice to oppose him was certainly influenced by some divine influence, but more so by his obsession with the man. Batman was a legend in Gotham City, and Bane, having trained under a ninja master, naturally desired to challenge him. This, combined with his childhood in prison, had forged a pure darkness within Bane. With a flick of his foot, a gust of wind seemed to surge through him, propelling him towards Batman with swift speed, closing the distance between them in an instant. This speed was even greater than yesterday's. Batman, on full alert, shifted his balance. As Bane roared out, he thrust his hips and dodged to the left with the agility of a panther. As if anticipating Batman's evasion, Bane tiptoed back, his body abruptly turning, arms outstretched, and lunged at Batman like a brown bear. There was no escape. But didn't panic. He calmly pressed a button on his belt. The sound of the cable retracting echoed again, and Batman flew backward, dodging Bane's attack once again, breaking through Bane's defenses. The next moment, the batarangs flashed a few times before exploding with a loud bang. Boom. A torrent of flames shattered every window on the floor, sending a shower of broken glass and stone showering. Batman flew out the window, wielding his cape with his right hand to shield himself from the flames and debris. Then, spreading it like bat wings, he slid to the ground. Amidst the flames, Bane rushed out in a panic, sparks still burning from his body, panting heavily, his eyes practically blazing. Tanks, armored forces, attack Batman with all your might, Bane roared, pulling out his communicator. He was furious after suffering repeated losses at Batman's hands. The steel tracks of the tanks rolled forward, and 4 tanks and armored vehicles surrounded him, their gun barrels trained on Batman arrived, and the rumbling sound of explosions filled Batman's ears. Boom. 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 The blast shook the earth slightly, but Batman felt no impact. The air around him grew incredibly hot and scorching. He couldn't help but guess that someone had shielded him from the fire. Turning around, Batman saw Fyra, her arms folded, facing the rumbling artillery with a calm expression. Seeing Batman looking at her, Fyra asked, "Do you need me to help you take out Bane?" "Thank you, but I can handle it, but you can help me take out the tanks," Batman said, trying to remain calm. Fyra had anticipated Batman's words. She pulled a pistol from her sling, tossed it to Batman, and said, "Bane is a hyperhuman. I've noticed changes in his anatomy. You'll need a more powerful weapon to defeat him." Without waiting for Batman to finish, Fyra dashed forward, appearing in front of a tank almost instantly. With both hands, she lifted the tank and slammed it into another. Boom. Ignoring the exploding fireworks, Fyra broke into a run, slightly tilting her shoulder as she charged towards the third tank. Her figure wasn't massive, it could even be described as delicate and slender. Despite her size, she managed to force the tank into its core, sending it sliding back 5 meters, creating a long gully in the ground. Batman shook his head, tightened his grip on the Krypton pistol, and glanced in Bane's direction. Their eyes met midair. On the last day of September, everyone, cast your vote. Chapter 105, How come you also have divine power? As Ra destroyed Bane's army, Leah pinned Ares, the god of war, to the ground. Although Ares teleported to avoid Leah's heat vision, the moment he appeared in another location, a sudden sonic boom erupted from behind him. Faster than the sound, Leah's fist struck. Wow! Leah's punch seemed to come from the heavens, streaking like thunder, stirring up a tremendous force that shook the earth. Boom! Like a speeding train, it slammed into speeding train, a car crossing the tracks. Ares felt as if caught in a hurricane, his divine power surging. He struggled to resist the force, but his body was still sent flying backwards, crashing through the ceiling of the underground parking lot and into the sky outside. But that wasn't the end. Leah flew after him, breaking the barrier sound and already skirting behind Ares. His right leg straightened, and like a sharp whip, it lashed out backwards. Bang! Ares was sent flying into the air by Leah's punch, then sent flying back to the ground. He landed heavily on the sports center's playing field, collapsing large sections of steel structures. Amidst the rubble, Ares slowly rose. His clothes were torn, but his skin was suddenly bathed in flashes of blue electricity. Ares summoned the surrounding metal, reassembling it into blood-soaked war armor. A hard iron helmet appeared on his head. Ares reached out with 2 fingers and touched his eyes. The metal there suddenly dissolved, and he gently pulled it downwards, and the Ares helmet took shape. Mortal, you dare blaspheme the gods? I will kill you. Ares' voice was filled with supreme authority. He gently raised his hand, and the earth trembled roar, and Ares was lifted into the air. Fortunately, Diana used her divine power to protect the super energy reactor, preventing it from exploding. The next second, the stadium suddenly accelerated, like a moving mountain, crashing down on Leah. Then Ares clenched his fist, and the entire stadium, as if repeating Ares's movements, suddenly contracted. The huge island-like volume suddenly shrank into a sphere. If it were an ordinary person, squeezed by a mountain-like building like this, they would definitely be reduced to a pile of minced meat. But Leah was no ordinary person. The huge sphere trembled several times and suddenly exploded. Leah's body transformed into a black lightning, instantly breaking the sound barrier, traversing dozens of meters, and punching out. Ares' face darkened in midair, his arms folded before him, ready to block the blow. Bang! Like a rainbow piercing the sun, the mighty god of war, Ares, was struck in the chest by Leah's punch. His armor, centered around his fist, shattered inch by inch. The final force of the punch, breaking through the barrier of flesh, blasted out from behind him. Only then did a loud, sharp sound of air piercing arrive, spreading in all directions. Ares plummeted from the sky to the ground, creating a long gully. A moment later, he struggled out of the gully, his body covered in dirt and wounds, a scream escaping his lips. Divine power surged. A hurricane, as if tangible, swirled around him. A brilliant flash of lightning illuminating, repairing his injuries and the shattered armor. Mortals cannot kill gods. Only gods can kill other gods. Ares' eyes were bloodshot, veins bulging all over his body, and shot towards Leah at nearly the speed of sound. Who says mortals can't kill gods? I have divine power too, Leah snorted coldly. Clenching his right fist, silver-white lightning streaked across his arm. These lightning bolts were the divine power within Leah, primarily derived from Diana. Although the Wonder Woman card was still in the system's secondary card slot, thanks to their relationship, it received a double bonus. While Leah couldn't use his divine power as lavishly whistle as Ares, it was still more than enough to wrap around his arm. In an instant, Ares' lightning spear reached Leah. Facing this, Leah lifted his foot and stomped into the air, sending him careening through the air, instantly breaking the sound barrier. Simultaneously, his fist, shrouded in silver lightning, descended, colliding with the lightning spear, the full force of Ares, the god of war. Diana, guarding the nuclear reactor with divine power below, looked up at the sky. From the point of impact of Leah's fist, a dazzling light spread out, and time seemed to rewind across Gotham City. The citizens of Gotham witnessed this spectacle, many even interpreting it as a sign of the arrival of a savior. In mid-air, Leah extended his fist, meeting the onslaught of Ares' divine power, and soared, accelerating, the distance between them rapidly closing. Ares' face trembled at this sight. He knew Leah was powerful, immensely strong, and invulnerable. But as an ancient god, one who had lived from the age of the gods to the present day, Ares immediately saw Leah's Or Superman's weakness, his invincible physical resistance and zero magical resistance. Simply put, both Leah and Superman were formidable on a physical level, but in the face of mystical forces, they were far less formidable than they appeared. Ares even tried to lurk near Clark, using his mind to induce him to use his powers. If it were just a mortal, Ares would have easily succeeded, but Clark's will was as strong as steel, making him completely unstoppable. Take Batman, for example. Batman first had to develop distrust of Superman so Ares could reinforce that distrust. Superman, however, was a superhero bursting with positive energy, so Ares's mind control was completely ineffective against him. Ares didn't take the failure of his mental induction seriously. After all, he was the god of war, not the god of induction. A god's pride was his own. He felt confident that with his immense power, he could easily vanquish these scumbags with zero magic resistance. However, when Leah unleashed his divine power, Ares's heart sank. When Leah, with his maddest divine power, was able to contend with Ares's most powerful lightning spear, no, it should be said that he was crushing him. Ares nearly burst into tears. He was promised invincible physical resistance, but zero magic resistance? Ares' eyes flashed with a complex mix of confusion, bewilderment, frustration, and, above all, anger. He roared, increasing his divine power once more, demanding, "Mortal, how do you possess divine power? And your power? FK. How is your power also the power of Zeus Thunder?" The implication was, holy shit. How many illegitimate children does my dad have? Happy National Day. You all have holidays, but I am the only one still working overtime. I have too much work but no commission. I have to work overtime while others are on vacation. Sigh. Seeing such a hard-pressed author, please cast your recommendation votes to comfort him. Chapter 106, Twilight of the Gods. Ares' roar couldn't stop Leah's fist. Boom. Leah's fist struck Ares with a force that seemed to shatter the heavens, piercing his war armor and blasting a massive bloody hole through his chest. Although Ares' injuries were severe, revealing his bloody ribs and beating heart, he paid no heed to his injuries. Instead, he stared intently at Leah, demanding, "Impossible. How do you possess divine power? Who are you? You can call me Godslayer." Of course, Leah wouldn't tell Ares that he possessed an advanced system, version 2.0. He simply grasped Ares hard and, with a slight force, shattered it. With a puff, divine blood sprayed onto Leah's jet-black battlesuit. Ares half knelt, clutching his chest with one hand, gasping for air. "Why isn't he dead?" Diana rushed over. She saw a gaping in Ares' chest. Even his heart hole had been crushed by Leah, yet he was still stubbornly alive. Leah frowned. "Since exploding his heart won't kill him, then let's just burn him trash." With that, Leah's eyes suddenly blazed with crimson rays. A wave of heat rolled out, crashing down on Ares, instantly vaporizing his body. I told you, no mortal can kill a god, least of all me, the god of war. War doesn't have to be a clash between armies, as long as it's strife and destruction, I can draw strength from it. The higher the level of the struggle, the greater the power I draw. Since Ragnarok, I've been in a deep slumber. Even the outbreak of World War I and World War II only restored a modicum of my strength. But the Kryptonian invasion, while not an army clash, was more powerful than a vast horde. I, Ares, the god of war, have fully awakened, even beyond anything I've ever experienced. A sudden flash of thunder flashed across the sky, a bolt as thick as a bowl slamming down on Ares. His injuries, his war armor, healed once more. "Mortal, you should not challenge the majesty of a god." Ares floated in the air, his war armor streaked with silver-white lightning. He swung his hands toward Leah and Diana, and several bolts of lightning transformed into divine lightning spears, thundering down. A flash of silver light shone as Leah dodged with superhuman speed. His body could withstand any physical attack, but not the might of divine lightning. Diana stepped forward, blocking Leah's path, swinging the protective silver bracelets on her wrists and clashing them. Ahem. A surge of divine power, centered around Diana, suddenly spread outward, frantically counteracting Ares' lightning spears. Boom. The next moment, he appeared before Ares, knocking him back. A massive wave of air, centered around the two of them, swept in all directions. Flying backwards, Ares' armor was shattered into pieces, slamming to the ground with a loud bang, leaving a long furrow. The collision completely disfigured him, his bones and muscles shattered, and his entire body, centered on his chest, was crushed. However, as the lightning descended, Ares recovered from his injuries once again. It's useless. Gods are immortal? Then tell me, how are Zeus and the others still alive? Leah asked back coldly, because he remembered that Ares said at the beginning that he was the only god who survived the mythological age besides Diana. At Diana the mention of Zeus, Ares' face froze, then suddenly became agitated. Father, the gods never truly die. One day, we will rebuild the glory of the age of the gods. Diana, hearing this, was immediately displeased. My mother told me you killed the gods. Zeus used the last of his divine power to cast you down to earth in order to stop you. You are the culprit, the root of all evil. Ares was bewildered. He had been in a deep sleep since Ragnarok, and only regained consciousness at the outbreak of World War II. How could he suddenly be the murderer of the gods? How could he be the culprit, the root of all evil? Ares refused to take the blame. I didn't kill the gods, Diana. Zeus is my father, our father. My power comes from Zeus. How could I possibly kill him? Ares' expression was filled with rage. Now it was Diana's turn to be confused. What? What do you mean Zeus is our father? My mother told me I was made of clay, silly sister. Of course your mother would say that. She was imprisoned on Paradise Island by my mother, Hera. She hates her, and she hates me, so she made up this lie. Ares opened his mouth and revealed the secrets of the age of the gods. You're lying. Diana refused to believe Ares' lies. My mother said Zeus placed the Amazons on Paradise Island to protect us. We weren't imprisoned. The argument escalated into violence. Diana's Vulcan sword shattered, and she swung her fist at Ares' face. Ares, not to be outdone, immediately engaged in a fight. Leah stared at the two siblings fighting fiercely, wondering how this myth couldn't match any of the previous versions. After some thought, he felt there was nothing to dwell on. After all, this universe's Diana didn't leave the island during World War I, and according to Ares, he only recovered somewhat after the Great War, unlike some versions where he directly precipitated the war. Ares, tell me, what is Ragnarok? What exactly did you experience? Leah asked, concerned. Ragnarok, Ares muttered to himself, unleashing his divine power to distance himself from Diana. We encountered an invasion from a higher realm. The gods perished in battle. That's Ragnarok. Diana's expression shifted. She found Ares' claim that his father was Zeus somewhat difficult to accept, but that didn't stop her from being interested in the events of the Age of the Gods. An invasion from a higher plane? Was it Steppenwolf or Darkseid? Leah asked. Hearing Leah casually mention the names of the two new gods, his heart skipped a beat. Where did you hear those names? And I've heard of Steppenwolf, but who is Darkseid? She looked at Leah with a bewildered expression. The scene suddenly became extremely awkward, and even Ares' gaze towards Leah was tinged with a strange expression. P.S. This is another departure from the film's setting. Whether it's the film, the comics, or the TV series, all settings are references and not copied verbatim. Many devoted fans of the film and comics might find this unfamiliar, but since this is fanfiction, copying is boring, so the author wanted to create something a little different. I hope you understand. Chapter 107, Killing Gods. Apparently, the new gods of Apocalypse had once invaded Earth and fought against the ancient gods. Leah ignored Ares' strange look and said, if it was Darkseid who created Ragnarok, are you worried that they will come back? So you're creating conflict and want to become powerful enough? Yes, as long as I'm strong enough, I can defeat the new gods, rebuild Mount Olympus, and return to the age of the gods, Ares said, looking at Diana and Leah with a fiery gaze. Join me, brothers and sisters. By now, Ares seemed to really regard Leah as Zeus's illegitimate child, otherwise the thunder power in Leah would be inexplicable. Diana flatly refused. We can't do this at the cost of creating conflict. Ares, if you insist on causing it, I must stop you. If you insist on going against me, then show me what you can do. Before he finished speaking, Ares raised his hand towards Diana. The divine power within him suddenly transformed into thunder, blasting outward. A divine shield blocked her, but she was still blown away by the immense force of the thunder. Leah flashed and appeared beside Ares. Before the attack could land, Ares suddenly vanished. Leah's punch hit nothing. Looking back, Ares was already in front of Diana. Battle of Metropolis. She had only unleashed a tiny burst of thunder, unable to rival her brother Ares. Leah's eyes turned red, and a fiery gaze swept across. Ares teleported again, appearing farther away. Ares, you said Diana is also a god, right? She can kill you, Leah asked, standing in front of Diana and looking directly at Ares. That's right. Diana possesses the divine nature of the goddess of love and peace. She is the goddess of love and peace. While you possess divine power, you lack divine nature, so you cannot completely kill me. Ares seemed to have Leah in his grasp. In Ares' view, those who had the power to kill him lacked the means to do so, while those who had the means to kill him lacked the power to do so. Perhaps when Diana experienced the death of her lover and the destruction of peace, she would fully awaken her divine power. But in this world, Leah didn't want to die again just to awaken Diana's divine power, so he had to think of other solutions. Diana, attack me with your strongest divine power. What? Leah, are you crazy? Diana almost wondered if she had misheard. Listen to me, attack me with your strongest divine power. I can kill Ares. Leah didn't explain much. Diana looked into Leah's serious eyes and nodded out of trust in him. I understand. Are you ready? As she spoke, Diana clasped her hands together, and immense divine power emanated from her body, transforming into silver arcs of lightning. As the daughter of Zeus, she couldn't summon thunder as freely as her brother Ares, but she could do so when necessary. Leah, be careful, Diana shouted. The moment the protective silver bracelets collided, a sudden thunderclap erupted, and silver-white lightning struck Leah like sharp arrows. Haha, I don't understand what you're doing, but your actions are foolish. Ares looked on with amusement. Leah's magic resistance was low, and unless he also used divine power to counter it, resisting the lightning would be suicidal. Of course, Leah couldn't commit suicide. When the lightning struck him, he instantly used his mind to equip Diana's card from the secondary card slot to the primary card slot. Instantly, Leah also borrowed a godhood of love and peace. Superman's Man of Steel had zero magic resistance, which was indisputable. In this situation, it was naturally less effective than Diana's divine body. However, due to the card swap, Leah's overall combat effectiveness was greatly reduced, so he needed to rely on Diana's divine power. To withstand Diana's divine power without any defense would be tantamount to seeking death. However, Leah also had a unique skill obtained from Fiora's slave card. The Man of Steel, with its non-Kryptonian bloodline, increased its defense tenfold for 5 seconds. With a skill, even if Leah were unprotected against Diana's divine thunderbolt, he could withstand it smoothly and integrate it into his own divine power, instantly destroying Ares. If Ares wasn't killed this time, if he escaped, who knew where he'd hide and wreak havoc? Diana's thunderbolt struck Leah, and he silently activated his special skill, Steel Body. His defense suddenly increased tenfold, and the divine thunderbolt only caused a slight tingling and burning sensation. He quickly merged the two forces at that moment. Leah's body was enveloped in countless silver lightning bolts, as if countless silver threads were swimming. Ares, you're done. He stepped into the void, and with a sonic boom, he rushed towards Ares at breakneck speed. What? Ares was clearly unaware of this maneuver. He suddenly felt unsure whether Leah, having absorbed Diana's divine power, was qualified to kill him, and he began to panic. Whoosh! Ares didn't dare confront Leah head-on. He teleported again, attempting to evade Leah's attack. The moment Ares vanished, a triumphant smile crossed Leah's lips. Extreme speed. Field. Time in this world seemed to stop abruptly, everything frozen in time. Leah could even see a wormhole-like crack in space and time, just before Ares' position. Ares could indeed use his divine power to rip open space and teleport short distances. Leah turned and glanced around, noticing a dimensional rift slowly opening to the right near Diana. It was like watching a movie played 4 times too slowly. A moment later, Ares, clad in war armor, appeared there. You can die now, Ares. Leah spun around and moved quickly, his speed 4 times faster than Ares's. Once he appeared before Ares, the latter slowly twisted his neck, his gaze fixed intently on him. The divine power and thunder surged endlessly within him. As Leah delivered a punch, the thunder around transformed him into a galloping wild horse, pouring into Ares' body like a flood bursting through a dam, wantonly destroying his body. The extreme speed domain suddenly vanished, and Ares spat out a large mouthful of blood for the first time. His face turned pale, and he looked at Leah again with a look of terror. P.S. Sure enough, when it comes to the omnipotent Superman having weaknesses, many readers expressed their confusion, saying, Superman's magic resistance can't be 0. Look, he was hit by an energy cannon and he was fine. There are many similar comments. Putting aside the question of whether energy cannons count as magic damage, Superman is a physical tank and DPS who can both resist and attack. Even if his magic resistance is negative, with his millions of health bars and tens of millions of life regeneration, he is still an awesome existence. So don't quote classics to prove that Superman's magic resistance can't be zero. Saying that magic resistance is zero is just a sarcastic metaphor, not a real specific value. Except for Silver Super, Gold Super, Supreme Super, and the Invincible Super who can blow up the entire DC Universe's Supreme God Super with one punch. Chapter 108, God of Punishment. Let me ask you, can a mortal kill a god? Lee withdrew his hand, his divine power completely drained, leaving him feeling a rare sense of fatigue. Eris staggered and collapsed, spitting blood again. It was clear that Diana and Leah's divine power had completely destroyed his body. He raised his eyes and grinned, his lips stained with blood. I can't believe a mortal could do this, but I must tell you, death is not the end for a god, because the moment you killed me, you inherited my godhood. These words started Liam. What the hell did it mean to inherit Ares' godhood? Eris saw the puzzled look in Leah's eyes and continued, Leah, that should be your name. You possess the power of Zeus, but not the godhead. Now that you've killed me, you've gained godhood. My brother, you're a god now. Even now, Eris still considered Leah to be Zeus's illegitimate child. His gaze suddenly sharpened, and he fixed Leah intently. My brother, when the new gods descend again, please, you and Diana, must drive them out. The gods shall never fall. After Ares uttered these last words, with endless resentment, his body began to disintegrate into ash, slowly disappearing from the spot. Although he disliked humans, Earth was his home after all. Ares naturally disliked the new gods of Apocalypse wanting to cause trouble on Earth. Ding. Unknown energy detected. Analyzing. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the source of magic, aka Godhead. The host can inherit the original properties of this source of magic, or assign a new property. The system's voice suddenly echoed in Leah's mind. After a moment's reflection, Leah quickly understood what it meant. Simply put, the so-called Godhead is actually a source of magic, like a certain world authority, the source of their divine power of a certain kind. Just like Aphrodite, the goddess of love, gained power through love, and Ares, the god of war, gained power by sowing discord and inciting war. Then again, should he inherit Ares' properties, or assign himself new ones based on his own preferences? If he became the new god of war, Leah would have to constantly stir up trouble and wage war to become more powerful. However, rather than waging war, Leah preferred to teach villains a lesson. To put it nicely, it's punishing evil and promoting good, but to put it bluntly, it's just a show-off. Thinking of this, Leah spoke in his mind, System, reimbue my godhood, the source of magic with a characteristic, namely judgment. From now on, my godhood will be the god of punishment. At that moment, a mysterious feeling suddenly overwhelmed him, as if his entire being was connected to the universe, his every breath resonating with it. In a more mystical way, Leah had comprehended the power of the source. A god can only be killed by another god, and the god's godhood is seized by the slayer, used to strengthen itself. However, Leah's situation was unique. He lacked his own godhood, and only used the pseudo-godhood of Wonder Woman's card to kill Ares. Now, Ares' godhood had descended upon Leah. Although Leah had borrowed Diana's power, it was he who had killed Ares' godhood, able to gain power through judgment. My basic attributes have already reached blue elite level, and I'll even advance towards purple hero level at an even faster pace. With this thought, Leah clenched his fists, and divine power erupted, transforming into silver lightning that danced between his palms. Finally, his magic resistance wasn't zero. While Leah's strength and Superman defense weren't as good as his, he possessed his own divine power. If he fought Superman, he wouldn't necessarily lose. Diana strolled over to Leah, who had his eyes closed. She hesitated and asked, Leah, are you really Ares' brother? My brother? Leah opened his eyes blankly, and seeing Diana's worried look, he couldn't help but find it a little amusing. It seemed this girl was worried that he and her were actually long-lost siblings. It would be really awkward if they became siblings. Welcome to German orthopedics. Leah rolled his eyes at Diana. Of course not. Ares is crazy about having a brother. He thinks anyone with lightning bolts is his brother. Diana, I'm telling you, Soon you'll meet someone who runs with lightning bolts, and he even has a lightning bolt symbol on his chest. Who's this person you're talking about? Diana asked curiously. Well, you'll know him soon. By the way, did we forget something? Leah scratched his neck. He and Diana both paused, looking at each other slowly. Oh no. How could we forget the nuclear bomb? They instantly transformed into two bolts of lightning, speeding towards the underground parking lot of the former sports center. When Leah and Diana arrived, Bruce Wayne and Fyora had already appeared at the super reactor. Fyora, upon seeing Leah, came forward to greet him, while Bruce Wayne was tinkering with the super reactor. The nuclear fusion level in the reactor had dropped significantly, and it looked like it wouldn't explode for a while. Bruce, where's Bane? Did you catch him? Leah knew that Batman would not kill, so she asked. Hearing this question, Bruce Wayne's hand that was dismantling the nuclear bomb suddenly stopped. He sighed. Bane blew himself up. He wanted to die with me. It was Fyora who saved my life. This result was not too bad. Leah shifted his attention to the super energy reactor in front of him. Bruce, can you dismantle this thing? Bruce Wayne looked back at Leah and said, actually, this super energy reactor was built by the Wayne Group. I also participated in the research project. It was originally stopped, but I restarted the reactor a few days ago. I didn't expect this to happen. His voice was low, and there was a strong sense of self-blame in his tone. Leah comforted him. It's not all your fault. You may not believe it, but you were bewitched by Ares, the god of war. Leah thought Bruce Wayne would think he was crazy, but Bruce's reaction was unexpectedly calm. The Ares you are talking about, the man in armor who just fought with you, the battle to slay the gods had just taken place, and Bruce Wayne would undoubtedly have noticed. Yes, he's Ares, Bruce. Do you know anything about the ancient gods? Leah thought Bruce's reaction was too calm. Just as Leah explained that he was an Earthling with superpowers, Batman Bruce Wayne readily accepted this explanation. As he put the finishing touches on the reactor, Bruce Wayne said, I do know many things that ordinary people don't understand. Magic does exist, and the so-called gods are merely beings with powerful magical powers. However, when you mentioned superpowers and gods, I was actually surprised, but I didn't show it on my face. Well, Bruce Wayne was really saying, he just had a blank expression. One recommendation: vote for one godhood, first come, first served. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109, That Man. After Bruce Wayne successfully dismantled the super energy reactor, the nuclear fusion reaction ceased, and the crisis in Gotham City was averted. Many people had noticed a battle between Leah and Ares, and when things calmed down, they gathered to investigate. A particularly courageous reporter arrived at the remains of the sports center. While he was stunned by the scarred earth around him, he suddenly realized that had successfully stopped the nuclear bomb. Mr. Batman, can this bomb explode again? The reporter bravely stepped forward, by a slightly overweight photographer. Batman, Bruce Wayne, turned to face the camera and spoke through a voice changer. It won't explode. I've dismantled the nuclear bomb. Gotham City is safe. The reporter beamed with excitement at this. He turned to Leah and handed him the microphone. You are Mr. Avenger. I'm surprised you're in Gotham City. Are you and Batman part of the same team? Leah glanced at Bruce Wayne, who remained silent, and smiled at the reporter. Yes, we are. We're both members of the Justice League. The Justice League's headquarters was still under construction, and the U.S. government hadn't released any information to the public. But since even O'Connor had acknowledged the legitimacy of the Justice League and supported its existence as an independent organization, it was only a matter of time before the public learned of its existence. As expected, upon hearing Leah's words about the Justice League, the reporter felt as if they had caught a piece of news, and immediately took out their notebooks to write down the details. Batman stood aside, expressionless, but the system interface betrayed his inner feelings by the fact that his friendship with Leah had increased. Leah's friendship with Batman had now reached 80% of its normal level. It was only his tsundere nature that was causing the problem. Anyone else would easily have upgraded from normal to friendly. But regardless, progress was a good thing, and Leah wasn't in a rush. After a brief interview, Leah and Batman left the area. Soon after, news of Batman and the Avengers teaming up to save Gotham City spread like wildfire, and the Justice League officially entered the public eye. Leanne, Bruce called to Leanne after returning to the Batcave. "What's wrong?" Leanne noticed Batman quickly remove his suit and change into an elegant suit. After shedding his bulky batsuit, Bruce Wayne transformed back into his billionaire self. "I was supposed to treat you to dinner today, but I already have an appointment. If you'd like to stay in Gotham City for a few days, I'd be happy to play host." Coming from Bruce Wayne's mouth, it was clear his attitude toward Lee had changed. Lee smiled back, saying, "Someone, Bruce. Seeing how well dressed you are, it must be someone you like." He'd meant Selina Kyle, the renowned Catwoman, but Batman and Catwoman's relationship seemed ambiguous and rarely brought to light. Or perhaps it was a female reporter or Gotham socialite Silver St. Cloud. In short, Bruce Wayne had many lovers, knows who he was referring to. Bruce Wayne smiled silently. He stood in front of the mirror, tying a fancy tie. "If you need anything, just tell Alfred. I won't be back tonight." Alfred, standing beside him, rolled his eyes at Bruce Wayne through his reading glasses, a look that suggested, "I'll give you a look, you'll see for yourself." Lee wanted to confirm something, so she asked, "Bruce, about the Justice League? I've always wanted to form a League of Heroes. Do you want to join? You all have superpowers, and I'm just an ordinary person. Are you sure you want me to join?" Bruce Wayne looked Lee in the eye and said, "Bruce, an ordinary person wouldn't have the energy to fight me while bleeding internally, let alone defeat Bane. Fyra told me that Bane was enhanced by Ares, and you still defeated him with your own strength." Lee never considered Bruce Wayne an ordinary person. After hearing this, Bruce Wayne was silent for a moment, then asked, "Is that man joining too?" "That man," presumably referring to Superman, Clark Kent. Lee smiled and said, "Of course. You've probably seen a lot of reports lately. Superman saved a downed plane, rescued workers in a deep-sea oil mine, put out a fire in a high-rise building. Day or night, he'll do whatever it takes to help others," Bruce Wayne said thoughtfully. "I can tell, Leah, you admire your friend, but I'd still like to get to know him personally. If he's truly as selfless as you say, then I'm willing to fight alongside you. You'll like him once you get to know him," Leah promised. 2.5 months later, the first phase of the Justice League's Earth headquarters was completed, and the remaining work should be complete by the end of the year. America has a high level of industrial sophistication, and its building structures mostly use slab and column construction, rather than China's beam and column frame. Although this American construction method is costly, it saves labor and significantly shortens the construction period. Therefore, every time Metropolis is destroyed, it can be rebuilt with incredible speed. President Ogwunhe specifically met with Leanne to discuss numerous details with General Swanwick and General Lane. Indeed, Lois Lane's father, Colonel Sam Lane, had been promoted to Major General after the Battle of Metropolis, becoming one of the few prominent figures in the American military. Under no circumstances, whether military or government, you must not monitor or eavesdrop on the privacy of Justice League members in any way. "I heard Superman discover a drone attempting to track him a while ago." Leah, seated across from Ogwunhe and the others, spoke as an Avenger. General Swanwick's face darkened upon hearing this. "That was a $50 million drone, and Superman just destroyed it. I'm being polite by not arresting him." Go ahead. No one's stopping you, General Swanwick. Go ahead and capture Superman with your tank. I won't interfere." Leah spread his hands and looked at Swanwick with support. General Swanwick's mouth twitched, and he looked at President Ogwunhe with a look of grievance. He had just spoken rashly. If he really wanted to capture Superman, he wouldn't dare to do it even if he drove an aircraft carrier, let alone a tank. Please save this post. Please recommend it. Chapter 110, God of Deception. President Ogwunhe didn't want to dwell on the drone incident. He cleared his throat, a professional smile plastered on his face, and asked, "Mr. Avenger, if you don't publicly disclose your intention to reveal your identities to us, how can we believe that you are truly cooperating?" Without external threats, Ogwunhe felt much more confident. He could acknowledge the legitimacy of the Justice League, but as America's supreme leader, like all those in power, he disliked anything that upset the simply put. Once the Justice League was formed, they would possess the power to crush the American military. Even if there was only a 1 in 1,000 chance of such an event, Ogwunhe would prevent it. The open and honest cooperation between the two sides could, to a certain extent, Aleo Guanhei's concerns. The reason was simple: Superman had once confessed to living on Earth, so he must have family and friends. By controlling Superman's family and friends, they could, to a certain extent, restrict Superman's behavior. Indeed, a few months ago, such negotiations would have been impossible, but now was different. Leah now possessed godhood. He was not only an avenger but also a god of punishment. Using divine power to change a mortal's mind was no small feat. Mr. President, General Swanwick, General Lane, Leah's gaze swept over the three men, his divine power silently flowing, blending into his voice. We don't reveal our identities, not because we don't want to cooperate sincerely, but to avoid disrupting our lives. When we're in uniform, we fight violence and protect the good. When we're out, we simply want to be ordinary people, living our lives in peace. Under the influence of Leah's divine power, Ao Guanhei and the others felt an inexplicable sense of agreement with him. Your concerns, Mr. Avenger. As you wish. I, Ao Guanhei, on behalf of the American government, promise not to investigate the identities of any member of the Justice League in any way. Ao Guanhei wrote this clause into the contract with a flourish. Seeing that Ao Guanhei had declared his stance, General Swanwick and Ryan also put aside their grudges. I, Swanwick, Sam Ryan, on behalf of the United States military, promise not to pursue the identities of any member of the Justice League in any form. The first clause of the contract was finalized. Leah smiled maliciously. Mr. President, isn't your annual funding too low? It's quite a bit. Quite a bit. Including the 20% military budget for the 7th Military Region, your Justice League's funding already exceeds that of the CIA. Ao Guanhei rejected Leah's request without a second thought. There's no way I'm going to get more money, not in this lifetime. Even if I, Ao Guanhei, jumped off this very spot and tore down the watching the sea and listening to the wave sign on the wall, I wouldn't give you a penny more. This was Ao Guanhei's inner thoughts. Leah rubbed his hands together and said helplessly, Mr. President. It's not me asking you for funding, it's the millions of American people asking you for funding. Do you know where we'll use it? We'll use all of it to serve these millions of people. This money, taken from the people, for the people. Although the true meaning of these words wasn't fully conveyed when spoken in English, Ao Guanhei understood Leah's meaning. After all, Ao Guanhei was fascinated by Chinese culture. And the painting watching the sea and listening to the waves hanging on his wall was no joke. What a take from the people, for the people. Hearing these words, Ao Guanhei felt his blood boiling with inexplicable passion, eager to immediately devote himself to the great cause of serving the people. He immediately made the decision. We'll allocate you an additional 2 billion yuan annually. Leah's smile stretched to a crooked rim. He looked at Ao Guanhei with a hint of admiration. Mr. President is indeed a good president, a president who truly cares about the people. So, what about the two generals? His voice was still filled with the power of temptation. The two generals shuddered violently, and they looked at Leah as if they were a wolf devouring a human without leaving any bones. But they couldn't resist, agreeing with Leah's words from the bottom of their hearts. Especially since Ao Guanhei had set them such an example, they suddenly felt that as American soldiers, they must spare no effort to love their country and the people. Our 7th Military Region is willing to give up 20% of its military budget. General Ryan stood up and spoke forcefully. We, the North American Joint Air Force Command, are willing to give up 40% of our military budget. General Swanwick was also unequivocal, starting with 40%. Upon hearing these figures, Leah was filled with immense excitement. He stood up and enthusiastically shook the two men's hands. You are all good comrades. On behalf of all the people of America, I salute you. Leah's warmth moved the three present to tears. Okay, let's move on to the next point. Let's discuss the level of authority. Leah waved his hand at the three, motioning them to sit down so they could continue discussing the details. The subsequent clauses were simple to discuss. Ao Guanhei, however, was interested in assigning several agents to the Justice League, presumably to assist Leah and his team. It was obvious what Ao Guanhei was planning, and Leah decisively refused. Superheroes possess talents in various fields. Batman provides and maintains the weapons and equipment, and the database is maintained by the psychic image of Superman's father. Cleaning, daily patrols, and security duties can be left to Fyra, this versatile little expert. And that's just the ones who've already joined. More talent will be joining later, like Barry Allen, the world's fastest delivery driver, Caitlin Snow, the refrigeration and air conditioning specialist, Firestorm, the heating and air conditioning specialist, Arthur Curry, the plumber, multitude of unequal treaties. This level of suppression made Lee-Ya's manipulation of Ogwanhei and his team flawless, like the ultimate psychic attack from a Japanese manga, Atsukusa. Lee-Ya's manipulation of their minds made them believe it was their own subjective thinking, so much so that when the Secretary of State doubted Ogwanhei's report of the Justice League Treaty, Ogwanhei, General Swanwick, and General Lane allied to confront the Secretary. When he returned home, Lee-Ya produced 4 invitations. Justice League invitation was written in beautiful, cursive English on the pale blue covers. Please vote for me. Chapter 111, Invitation. Diana, write your name on the first copy, Clark Kent on the second, Bruce Wayne on the third, and Oliver Queen on the fourth. From today on, the Justice League is officially formed. Lee-Ya smiled. His original purpose for forming the Justice League was to gain friendship points and become stronger. However, now, especially after Lee-Ya attained godhood and became a celestial god of punishment, he could reach purple hero level and even higher without friendship points. He could even exploit Superman and Wonder Woman's weaknesses and easily defeat them if he chose. At this moment, Lee-Ya was a true god on Earth. Facilitating the formation of the Justice League was no longer his original purpose. While friendship points still helped, he enjoyed the feeling of working together with friends, focusing on a common goal. Diana smiled and took the invitation from Lee-Ya invitees, and I'm the one inviting you, so of course I'll sign the last name. Lee-Ya took the 4 invitations again, signed each one, and then affixed them with the Justice League's large red seal. While the seal served no other purpose, it at least gave it a formal appearance. Alright, Diana, here are your invitations. Fiola, can you help me deliver the remaining 3 to them? Lee-Ya asked. Fiola had stood behind Lee-Ya, watching the entire process. Although it was impossible not to envy her joining the Justice League, or not made no difference to her, soldiers valued honor above all else, and to her, joining the Justice League was the highest honor, receiving Lee-Ya's approval. At that moment, Fiola silently resolved to complete all tasks and earn Lee-Ya's approval. Yes, General Lee-Ya, I promise to complete the mission. Fiola stood still, saluted, and said, Call me Master. Yes, Master General Lee-Ya. The Justice League invitations were delivered. When Fiola found Clark, he was chasing a car. It seemed some daring robber had robbed a jewelry store, got in their car, and before they could even get out of the street, they sped off and, out of the blue, crashed into Superman. Not only did they not steal anything, but they also wrecked the car. What a loss. Hey, Fiola, what do you want with me? Clark asked, looking at Fiola in surprise. Fiola saw one of the hapless robbers pointing his gun at Superman and wanted to warn him, but seeing Superman's question, he ignored him. He actually did it. Haha, we were just casually chatting about it, but I never thought the Avengers would actually form the Justice League. And, he even promised me vice president, Clark said seriously, completely ignoring the bullet lodging in his back. While Clark was perusing the invitation, Fiola leaned over and addressed the robbers behind Superman. My advice to you all is to run now. After all, your weapons are useless to him. Grabbing a small pistol and wanting to fight Superman, I wonder if these robbers' brains were dented by a door. The invitation away and asked Fiola, are there any other necessary procedures? I mean, the procedures for joining the Justice League. Print out an application form and submit it. Don't write it by hand. Then, a 2-inch ID photo of you in your combat uniform. That's all. After giving the instructions, Fiola said goodbye to Clark and flew towards Gotham. After watching Fiola leave, Clark glanced back at the robbers, only to find them running back to the jewelry store's entrance. In Gotham City, Batman, driving the Batmobile, chased a speeding, modified motorcycle through the streets. In the city, motorcycles can adapt to a wide range of terrain. Seeing the other vehicle about to enter a narrow alley, Batman pressed the communicator on his ear. Help me check the map and calculate their possible escape route. Before Batman could finish his words, a woman in a black battlesuit suddenly descended from the sky. She kicked a motorcycle and simultaneously reached out to grab the criminal's hand. Alfred, there's no need to check, Batman said in a low voice. What's wrong, sir? Alfred asked in surprise. Huh? The map shows, the motorcycle is parked in the alley. It was Fiola who caught the criminal, Batman said, then turned off the communicator, opened the door of the Batmobile, and stepped out. You came all this way here, Aren't you here specifically to help me catch a criminal? Batman walked forward. Fire tossed a frightened prisoner to Batman's feet and said, "The Avengers previously verbally invited you to join the Justice League, but now I've brought you a formal invitation." Batman knocked the criminal unconscious with a punch, stepped over him, walked over to Fire, took the invitation, and opened it to read. "What? The Justice League has the approval of the US government, and they've even unconditionally sponsored a $200 million building." Batman looked incredulous. While $200 million might not seem like much to him, the fact that the government was willing to give it unconditionally spoke volumes. Most importantly, the US government actually recognized the existence of a vigilante group. Remember, when Batman first started as a vigilante, the police treated him as a criminal and wanted to arrest him. After all, in any country, it's forbidden to arrest criminals on behalf of the police. If such a vigilante organization isn't properly established, it could lead to a nationwide wanted list as a terrorist. But not only are they not wanted, but even President O'Connor has endorsed the Justice League. Of course, the Avengers discussed many details with the President and 2 military generals today. It won't be long before the Gotham Police Department receives a letter from the White House informing them of the Justice League's existence. The blue members of the Justice League hold authority second only to the Commissioner of Police, Fiola explained. "The countdown to publishing has begun, so I'll save some manuscripts first." Chapter 112, Unexpected Money Power. The Justice League's membership system still uses the same color-coded system. Blue members are designated as elite blue members, specifically superheroes like Green Arrow and Oliver Queen. "What about me? What are my purviews?" Batman asked, suppressing his surprise. "You're a purple Batman, with authority second only to that of the mayor," Fiola explained Leah's rating of Batman. While isn't a metahuman, and his basic attributes are merely beyond the reach of ordinary humans, he's been given purple rank based on his record defeating the Enhanced Bane, as well as his intelligence, perseverance, and creativity. Of course, this purview doesn't directly replace existing government officials, but rather grants a level of decision-making authority in exceptional circumstances. For example, in the case of Deathstroke's enhanced human army, the police chief had the authority to mobilize the National Guard in emergencies. However, the police chief was killed by a premeditated augmented human, preventing the National Guard from being deployed. Now, a blue member of the Justice League holds authority second only to that of a police commissioner. When the position of police commissioner is vacant, he or she has the power to mobilize the National Guard, even command all police officers, and issue preemptive evacuation orders. If Oliver had possessed such authority, casualties inflicted by the Augmented Legion could have been reduced by over 40%. "Purple members have authority second only to that of the mayor," Batman exclaimed in surprise. "Isn't anyone worried about more abuse of power?" He couldn't imagine if vigilantes would retain their original aspirations, or perhaps become addicted to power, given their immense power. Fiola saw his concern and said, "Don't worry. The Justice League is very strict in assessing authority, and many are watching closely. Any abuse of power will be punished. After all, granting Justice League members certain powers is to better carry out their work." "So, Batman, would you abuse your power?" "Of course not," Batman replied without hesitation. Dark heroes like him are generally unpopular with the police, and it's thanks to the presence of Commissioner Gordon that Batman isn't wanted. But since he wasn't wanted, the police were often reluctant to cooperate when he was hunting down criminals. After all, the presence of vigilantes disrupted the city's original balance. In America, the police and many capitalists have inexplicable ties, and they have long established an unwritten code of conduct. The emergence of vigilantes has directly disrupted these rules. In particular, a number of Gotham City's existing police officers were killed in Bane's trap, and the newly transferred officers were deeply dissatisfied with Batman. But now, with the privileges of a purple member of the Justice League, those officers who disliked him have to cooperate even if they don't want to. "That's fine. Including you, there are only 3 purple members now, and the Avengers said they'll strictly control the number from now on to prevent abuse of power," Fiola explained. According to Leah's memories of the 7 Justice League members from her previous life, none of them in the mainstream DC universe have been corrupted by power. Of course, the Injustice League must be an exception. After all, Superman's corruption wasn't due to power, but rather the Joker's mistaken murder of his beloved wife and child. Batman stared intently at the invitation, unable to resist being He'd been constantly being rigged by ulterior motives by police officers lately. Bruce Wayne naturally ignored those minor police officers, but Batman wasn't above asking. With his Justice League background, his Batman identity would earn him government support. Undoubtedly, I have another question. Does joining the Justice League require revealing my identity to the government? This was Batman Bruce Wayne's biggest concern. His identity had been leaked before, resulting in the tragic death of his beloved. If Batman were to reveal his identity to the government, he doubted they wouldn't secretly monitor or manipulate his life. Viola shook her head. That's clearly stated in the contract. President O'Glenn, representing the U.S. government, and General Swanwick and Lane, representing the military, have all pledged in writing not to investigate the identities of Justice League members in any way. What? Fuck, even the normally expressionless Batman nearly swore at this. They're frantically granting powers to members of the Justice League while simultaneously promising not to investigate their identities. Are these government officials crazy? Bruce Wayne has dealt with high-ranking government officials before. He's even met Ogwunhei a few times, and that's not the way they operate. Would the Avengers threaten Ogwunhei and his men with force? Batman pondered, only coming up with this plausible explanation. No, they were having a peaceful discussion in the White House, Viola said with a smug smile. She hadn't expected the usually expressionless Batman to display such an expression. Stop wasting time. Do you want to join? Batman bowed his head in thought, then solemnly. Yes, I do. Application, don't write it by hand, and attach a 2-inch ID photo of you in your Batman costume. Viola said this before flying off to Star City. Leah was lying on the sofa, bored, when a system notification chimed in her head. Ling. Friendship level raised to friendly, unlocking Bruce Wayne's character card. Just as Leah expected, Bruce Wayne's card attribute was blue. While his base stats far surpassed those of an average human, even reaching near enhanced human standards, Bruce Wayne was, after all, a mortal pure. Blue. Bruce Wayne, President of Wayne Enterprises. Race, human. Primary card effect, human level strength, speed, reflexes, and exceptional intelligence. Additional effect, money power. Equip a secondary card to gain a 1% stake in Wayne Enterprises. WTF. System, what the hell is money power? Leanne nearly choked. Batman's claim that his superpower was wealth was a complete joke. How could he take that seriously? And what was the point of giving him a 1% stake in Wayne Enterprises? However, the system, so aloof, couldn't possibly answer Leah's question, leaving her even more bewildered. There's no official information on the specific assets of the Wayne Group, but with a market valuation of a certain Apple phone brand exceeding hundreds of billions of US dollars and the Wayne Group involved in multiple industries, how much is a 1% stake worth? Leah couldn't figure it out. Sometimes, when there's a lot of money, it becomes just a bunch of numbers. System, I'm warning you, we don't need this money. Ogwunhei gives me a large annual grant. We're not under the jurisdiction of the US government, so this funding is completely free. We truly don't need it. If you use some mysterious power to steal Wayne Group shares and Bruce finds out, I'll be embarrassed. The president of the Justice League, one of Earth's only 2 remaining gods, the god of punishment, actually stole shares from a mortal. If this gets out, where will Leah's face be? Want to gain financial power? Then cast your votes for recommendation. Chapter 113, Barry wakes up. As Leah was contemplating this cash-strapped ability, a dialog box suddenly popped up above Batman's additional effects. It was a system update explaining the upgrade. This skill involves the law of causality. Please equip it with confidence. This was the message on the dialog box, and for some reason, Leah felt even more suspicious about testing the waters on the brink of danger. He repeated this 3 times in his mind. He simply wanted to experience the law of causality mentioned by the system. He had absolutely no desire to covet even a single % of Wayne Group's shares. With a thought, the Batman card was successfully equipped into the secondary card slot. The improvement to Leah's base stats was negligible, practically negligible. Rolling in the deep. You had my heart inside your. Hello, Leah, it's me, Bruce. The deep voice of Batman Bruce Wayne came from the other end of the line. From just this one sentence, it was impossible to tell his emotions. Leah bravely replied, hello, Bruce, what can I do for you? I know everything you've done. Hearing this, Leah subconsciously assumed that Bruce Wayne knew something was wrong with his shares, and Leah was even prepared for him to turn against him. However, Bruce changed the subject and said, "The significance of the Justice League is more profound than I originally thought. For a long time, I have been fighting alone. As much as I hate to admit it, sometimes, the power of one person is really too small. I can't even protect my loved ones." "Hey, Bruce, don't talk about these unhappy topics. We're partners now. If you need help, I will help you without hesitation," Leah comforted him on the phone. "I understand. Thank you for inviting me to join the Justice League. So, I've decided to donate 1% of the Wayne Group's shares to sponsor the Justice League." Bruce Wayne said it lightly, but Leah's body trembled violently at the thought. What the hell? Donating 1% of the Wayne Group's shares to sponsor the Justice League? There's even such a thing? The other party, not hearing Leah's response, assumed he was unwilling to accept and hurriedly explained, "Please accept my donation. I know the Justice League will need a lot of money in the future, equipment, management, personnel placement. You possess extraordinary powers, and there's not much I can do to help you. So, I hope you will accept my gift." After a moment, Leah said solemnly, "Okay. On behalf of the Justice League, I accept your generous gift. In a few days, I'll have Alfred draft a share transfer agreement. You can come and sign it then. If you prefer not to attend the board meetings, you can authorize Alfred to handle your official duties," Bruce suggested. Although Leah wasn't entirely familiar with the world of company shareholders, he believed Bruce wouldn't have to give up his own shares and then try to trick him, so he was naturally willing to follow his advice. After hanging up the phone, Leah lay back on the sofa, looking at his uncle's somewhat dilapidated house. He couldn't quite wrap his head around the word billionaire. Did I get rich overnight? Leah was having trouble adjusting to his new role. He turned to Diana, who was sprawled on the living room sofa, eating chips and watching TV, and said, "Diana, I want to build a spaceship. I'm going to ask Jor-El for advice. Do you want to come?" Superman's Fortress of Solitude is located in the Arctic. During the last battle of Metropolis, Leah had saved the key to Clark's spaceship, meaning that a shadowy presence of Superman's father, Jor-El, still existed. Jor-El represented the most advanced technology on Krypton. Previously, Leah lacked the financial resources to realize Jor-El's knowledge. Now, with a 1% stake in Wayne Enterprises and annual government funding, he could try to build something that didn't exist on Earth. Diana glanced lazily at Leah and said without hesitation, "I'm catching up on a TV show. You can go by yourself." As expected, for a goddess whose homebody instincts had awakened, building spaceships was far less relaxing than staying home and watching TV. In Central City, at a cutting-edge technology laboratory, Cisco and Caitlin were performing routine checks on the unconscious Barry Allen. In his spare time, Cisco played a song by a famous American artist, Poker Face, and irresistible rhythmic music began to play. Cisco twisted his hips and hummed along in a tone-deaf voice, can't read my, no he can't read my poker face." Caitlin was devastated. She rolled her eyes at Cisco. "What the hell are you doing?" After hearing Caitlin's complaints, Cisco finally came back to reality from the rhythm of the music. "Please, I saw this song on Barry's Facebook. He loves it. Maybe listening to it a few times will wake him up." Hearing is indeed the last sense to fade, but Cisco, if Barry wakes up, he'll definitely want you to shut up, Caitlin said bluntly. Cisco refused to accept this statement. "I won the karaoke championship in high school. It's your loss if you don't appreciate my beautiful voice." After saying this, Cisco hummed the song even louder. At that moment, Barry, lying in bed, suddenly jumped up, gasping for air like a drowning man desperately trying to breathe. Barry's sudden awakening startled Cisco, especially since Caitlin had just said, "Barry will wake up and tell you to shut up." Oh my god. Oh my god. "Barry, are you trying to scare me to death? Is my singing really that bad?" Cisco felt his confidence suddenly crumble. Caitlin remained calm. She quickly grabbed a medical flashlight and checked Barry's condition. Pulse 120, pupils reacting to the beam. Barry gradually regained consciousness. He looked around, feeling utterly out of place in this unfamiliar environment. "Where am I? Who are you? What's wrong with me?" "Hey, man, calm down. You're in a high-tech lab." "Calm down." Cisco stepped forward to calm Barry. "High-tech lab? Who are you?" Barry noticed he was strapped to various instruments and cables. He ripped them off and stood on the ground. Cisco introduced himself. "I'm Cisco Ramon, and this is Dr. Caitlin Snow. Do you remember what happened before you lost consciousness?" Chapter 114, Spaceship. What happened before I fell into the coma? Barry Allen struggled to search his memory. There was a flash of lightning, and Iris. After a moment's thought followed, Barry recalled everything. He had Leah's advice and was confessing his love to Iris. Just as he finished his vows of love, the cutting-edge laboratory exploded, and a bolt of lightning struck from the sky. Oh my God. Iris. Is Iris okay? Barry asked anxiously. Of Cisco said enviously, course. She came to see you often during your coma. There was also a girl named Felicity, and Leah. Leah. Are you talking about Leah Rogers? He came to see me too? Did he mention anything? Barry was surprised to hear Leah's name. He hadn't expected a superpowered person to care about him. After all, at that moment, he still only knew himself as a junior forensics officer in the Central City Police Department. Cisco thought Barry's reaction was a bit exaggerated. Yes, it's him, but why are you so surprised? What to say when he heard that he had been in a coma for 9 months? Caitlin took the opportunity to push Barry back to the bed. That's right, so we need to do more tests on you. Your muscles should have atrophied, but instead, your body is regenerating cells in a chronic and inexplicable state. Barry then looked down and found that he had 8 abdominal muscles. He even stretched out his fingers to pinch them. Lightning gave me 8 abdominal muscles. The sound of a wheelchair turning came from the door, and Harrison Wells appeared in the room, looking at Barry with a smile. You're finally awake, Mr. Allen. We still have a lot to talk about. For Barry, Harrison Wells is also one of the people he admires. You are. OMG. You are Harrison Wells. I have always wanted to meet you. Harrison Wells threw Barry a piece of cutting-edge laboratory clothes and said, come with me, let me explain to you the lightning that made you comatose. Afterward, Harrison Wells took Barry on a tour of the Advanced Technology Laboratory and explained how, 9 months ago, a particle accelerator had misbehaved and suddenly exploded, releasing energy that surged into the sky and formed a storm cloud. A bolt of lightning from the storm cloud struck Barry Allen, who was confessing his feelings to Iris. However, Barry Allen clearly had no interest in chatting with Harrison. After getting a rough overview of the situation, he said goodbye to the 3 people at Advanced Technology Laboratory and went to find Iris. Iris now worked at a coffee shop in Central City. When Barry appeared there, the two embraced passionately. Oh my God, Barry, you're finally awake. Does Dad know? Iris hugged Barry tightly, unable to forget the moment the lightning struck 9 months ago, when she felt her world collapse. Joe doesn't know yet, but I came to see you right after I woke up, but I can call him now, Barry said with a look of love in his eyes. He's out on a mission today. Several banks in Central City have been robbed recently. And strangely enough, witnesses at the scene all claim to have seen a violent storm in the lobby, Iris said, somewhat worriedly about her father. Barry listened in disbelief. Although he knew that people with superpowers existed in this world, his previous experience with investigations hadn't led him to think that way. Maybe the robbers used some kind of chemical. Maybe I should go help him. Forget it. You just woke up. It's not too late to go back to work once you've fully recovered. Iris was still worried about Barry. Just then, a slightly overweight black woman walked by and accidentally knocked over a cup of coffee on a nearby table. The owner of the coffee let out a gasp, and the cup suddenly fell off the table. Barry looked over, and for a moment, as if time had slowed down tenfold, he could clearly see the coffee cup's trajectory as it fell, the coffee splattering. What the hell? Barry didn't come back to his senses until his coffee cup fell to the ground. He was dazed as he recalled the previous scene, looking a little bewildered. Hearing a commotion behind him, Iris quickly turned around and called for help to clean up. She said to Barry, Barry, I have to go to work. Can you go home first? It's time for Kiao to get off work. Let's celebrate today. With that, she stood on tiptoe and gently kissed Barry on the cheek. The kiss thrilled Barry, who had been secretly in love with Iris for over a decade, but he also suddenly noticed that his hands were shaking rapidly in his excitement. Leaving the coffee shop, Barry walked into an alley. Seeing no one around, he raised his wrist. His hands were shaking rapidly. Seeing this, Barry was a little nervous. What's wrong with me? Why is this happening? Sent him hurtling forward. I need to figure out why this is. Right, to the Advanced Technology Lab. North Pole, Superman's Fortress of Solitude. Originally, this fortress was an outpost from Krypton's era of expansion. After Clark activated it, the outpost moved into the Arctic Glacier, its exterior covered in icicles, resembling an iceberg that had existed since time immemorial. Lee entered, and Jor-El's projection of his consciousness was happening already waiting in the hall. "Hey, Lee, you look happy," Jor-El asked calmly. "Yes, in our parlance, I've made a small fortune. Joe, I want to build a spaceship to serve as a monitoring station in space, and also as the Justice League's true headquarters. After all, the headquarters on Earth is too conspicuous," Lee stated her purpose. Jor-El stared at Lee silently for a moment, then said, "No problem. I can provide you with over 1,000,000 spaceship designs. If we filter them based on Earth's conditions, we can narrow them down to over 26,000. You can also tell me your other requirements so I can choose the most suitable spaceship for you." Chapter 115, Meteor Shower. The spaceship doesn't need to be too large, capable of accommodating around 1,000 people. It also needs to be capable of interstellar travel. Ideally, it should have a weapons technology research base, a soldier training base, living quarters, and most importantly, equipment capable of teleporting individual soldiers to Earth. In the Arctic Fortress of Solitude, Leah stated his requirements to Jor-El's conscious presence. Following Leah's request, Jor-El projected a data wall composed of countless dots of light into the void. A closer look revealed that each dot was a miniature model of a spaceship. As the dots shifted, Jor-El selected spaceships that met his requirements from his vast database. At that moment, a brilliant purple flash suddenly crossed Leah's mind. Ling. The Flash, Barry Allen, all attributes have been upgraded to hero level. Calculating the time, it's indeed been almost 9 months. So, Barry Allen has awakened. Leah was delighted. With a thought, his consciousness entered the system interface to check. Purple card, Barry Allen, The Flash, race, human main card effect, enhanced strength, enhanced recovery. Additional notes, Speed Force, can draw power from the Speed Force, becoming a speedster. Currently, Barry's basic attributes are only slightly higher than those of ordinary superpowered users, but the Speed Force can enhance his strength, making him a speedster. When his speed is maximized, he has the ability to travel through time and space. Leah remembered that in his previous life, many people considered the Flash useless, especially compared to Superman, who also possessed super speed. However, Superman's speed is purely a blessing from his own extraordinary basic attributes, while the Flash's speed comes from the Speed Force. There's no official explanation for the Speed Force, simply stating that it's the source of speed, a mysterious force in the universe. Leah believes the Speed Force can be seen as the origin of speed, or, more mysteriously, the law of speed. It's like Marvel's Infinity Stones, but of course, the Speed Force is more than just a gemstone, it's the source of a much greater power. Simply put, Superman's speed is physical, while the Flash's is more magical. Setting aside some incredibly powerful Supermen, the Flash's maximum speed is generally slightly faster than Superman's. Furthermore, thanks to the Speed Force, the Flash can transcend the barriers of time and space. Silver, Gold, and Supreme Superman are excluded. Leah mentally equipped the Flash card in the secondary card slot. The next moment, as if connecting to a Wi-Fi signal on a mobile device, Leah suddenly felt connected to some mysterious power. He trembled his palms, which felt like chainsaws at full power, and could clearly feel yellow lightning emanating from his body. Speed Force. Screening complete. Despite Leah's flurry of thoughts, to Jor-El, only a few seconds had passed. In a matter of seconds, he had finished the screening and projected the remaining data in front of Lee, displaying models of over a dozen spaceships. Sifting complete. A total of 12 spaceships meet your requirements. You can take a look at the models. These models have been built to scale, down to every detail. Following Jor-El's words, Lee narrowed her eyes and looked at a model of a spaceship. As expected, the more she zoomed in on the model, the more she could see countless parts, pipes, and countless unknown operating devices. It boiled down to 3 words: incomprehensible. Only children make choices. I choose C. CM-139 Fortress-class spaceship. Lee immediately took a liking to a model of a spaceship similar to one used by Frieza's army. The model was circular, with a diameter of 320 meters and a height of 95 meters. It could be equipped with psionic engines, had a complete functional area, and was equipped with a large number of intelligent machines to replace manual maintenance. This ship is intended for a temporary space base. Its psionic engines can directly utilize engines left behind at the outpost. Most technical issues can be resolved by omnivorous machinery, Provided a batch of omnivorous machinery is mass-produced, Jor-El waved his hand, and the other models vanished, leaving only the CM-139 Bastion-class spacecraft Leah had chosen. Leah looked toward the entrance to the Fortress of Solitude. I remember Clark destroying a few robots. Are those the omnivorous machinery you're talking about? Yes, but they were made of materials not found on Earth. But that's not a problem. We can find alternative materials here. Once you repair the omnivorous machinery, they'll be able to restart the ship's manufacturing equipment and mass-produce omnivorous machinery, Jor-El said flatly. We have the technology, but the materials are key. So, how do I repair the omnivorous machinery? Leah asked. Jor-El extended his hand, and a model of the omnivorous machinery appeared before his eyes. It then expanded rapidly, its components disassembled and accompanied by extensive instructions. Even Leah, who had just gained super speed, couldn't fully comprehend the profound knowledge. Indeed, despite being a tiny robot less than a meter tall, human technology would require at least another 50 years to fully understand the principles of such a fully intelligent machine. Excuse me, do you intend to learn this independently, piece by piece, or do you want me to transmit this knowledge directly to your brain via neural signals? Jor-El asked. Is there even a choice? Direct transmission, of course. As Leah finished speaking, Jor-El clenched his fist, and the shadow before him vanished, transforming into a stream of data entering Leah's brain. It felt like boiling water being poured over his head. Leah's brain instantly raced to its limits, as if it were simultaneously working on 50 different calculus exercises. 20 seconds seemed like centuries to Leah. He suddenly remembered Clark spending months in the Fortress of Solitude, learning about 28 star systems. No wonder Clark possessed such an iron will. In such a torrent of information, a few months in the outside world could feel like hundreds, even thousands, of years to him. Imagine doing calculus exercises for hundreds of years straight appeared outside Earth. Upon entering the atmosphere, half of the meteorites fell at such high speeds that the intense heat from the air friction reduced them to ash. Only a few managed to break through the atmosphere and plummeted towards the uninhabited area of southern Kansas. Guess who's here? By the way, I'm begging for a vote. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116, The Emblem of the L Family. Wayne Enterprises, the President's Office. Master, an hour ago, our satellite captured several meteorites crashing into an uninhabited area in southern Kansas, Alfred said to Bruce Wayne, opening a file on his computer zoomed in and processed, was distorted, but the outlines of the meteorites were still clearly visible. Bruce Wayne tapped the center of the video. Alfred, you should get your reading glasses darker. There's a spaceship among these meteorites. Following Bruce Wayne's words, Alfred tapped the keyboard a few times, and the image zoomed in again. The computer automatically processed the image, making it clearer. Even so, Alfred had to press his head against the computer to barely make out the spaceship-like metallic object nestled among the meteorites. Oh my God, Master Wayne, it's another alien spaceship. Our aliens invading Earth again. Alfred clearly hadn't forgotten the alien war in Metropolis a few months ago, which nearly razed half of the city's buildings to the ground. No matter where it happened, Alfred didn't want to witness such a brutal battle again. Don't worry, Alfred. Judging by the size of the spaceship, it can only accommodate one person. Unless two people squeeze together, there will only be one visitor this time. Bruce Wayne reached out and loosened his tie. Alfred was all too familiar with this gesture. His master always did it before donning his batsuit. Master Wayne, you have an important business meeting this afternoon, Alfred reminded him. Bruce Wayne was already heading for the CEO's office door. Before leaving, he forced a smile and said to Alfred, I believe you can help me with this meeting. With that, he took the CEO's elevator to his parking lot, picked up a Porsche at random, and headed for the Batcave. On the way, Bruce Wayne called Leanne. Leanne had been holed up at home these past few days, repairing intelligent machines. Since his knowledge was directly instilled into his brain by Jor-El, it took practice to quickly transform this external information into his own. Hey, Bruce, what's up? Bruce Wayne's voice remained low on the other end of the line. Leanne, we're in trouble. Wayne Enterprises. Bruce, I saw the coordinates you sent. I'm leaving immediately, and satellites. I'll take Superman with me. Leah said on the phone. Leah had not told Bruce Wayne Superman's true identity. After all, every hero's true identity was a secret. It was fine if a friend discovered it, but it would be unkind to share it with everyone. Hearing Superman's name, Bruce Wayne fell silent. The closest he'd ever been to Superman was during the Battle of Metropolis, when Superman and Zod clashed to the point of devastation. Bruce Wayne stood beneath a crumbling building, watching the battle from above. "No problem, I'll try to be nice to him," Bruce Wayne said. This would be the first meeting between Superman and Batman. "I hope it's not too awkward." Leah changed into his modified suit in a flash. Diana was still in school because she had her favorite history class today, the only one she wouldn't miss. He called Fyra, who usually lounged on the rooftop in the sun, and sent the coordinates Bruce had sent to Clark, along with a message: "Superman, come to these coordinates, there's a surprise." After the message was successfully sent, Leah and Fyra flew over. 10 minutes later, they were in the uninhabited wilderness of southern Kansas. America is vast and sparsely populated, with uninhabited suburbs alone occupying roughly half its surface. The vast expansion of desolate land is a stark reminder of the meteorite crashes. Just because they were invisible to the public didn't mean they weren't noticed by the authorities. When Leah arrived, she discovered several helicopters had already landed around the 6 craters and a cordon had been established. "Who are you? Martial law has been declared. Please leave." Before Leah could even approach, several soldiers, machine guns drawn, surrounded her. Fyra instinctively braced for battle, ready to dispatch any of them instantly at Leah's command. But Leah's gaze was looking behind these people. "Amanda Waller, why do I see you everywhere?" A black woman in a professional women's suit and high heels came behind the soldiers. She looked at Leah and Fyra with a look of and said angrily, "I should be the one saying this. Why do I see you everywhere? This spaceship, we will find it first." Amanda Waller seemed to be declaring sovereignty, but Leah smiled and shook her head. "Not whoever finds the spaceship first can own it. Ms. Amanda, please leave it to professionals." When Amanda mentioned professionals, her nose almost got crooked with anger. "You mean we are not professionals?" "Sorry, we have been engaged in superpower research for almost 20 years. Engaged in superpower research for almost 20 years. Leah laughed unkindly. "Amanda, as a professional engaged in superpower research, do you know what the logo engraved on the outside of that spaceship means?" Although Leah did not get close to the spaceship, his perspective eyes could see through the several-meter-deep crater caused by the meteorite and see the details of the spaceship inside, including the S logo on the surface of the spacecraft. Amanda Waller took a closer look at the giant pit and naturally saw the S logo. She subconsciously said, "The S that stands for Superman." "No, this is not an S," a voice came from the sky. Amanda and the surrounding agents looked up and saw a figure in a blue and red uniform with a red cape fluttering in the wind hovering above their heads. He smiled at Leah and Fyra, then said to Amanda and the others, "On our Krypton, this character represents hope. It is the emblem of our L family." Chapter 117, Kara Zor-El. Superman. When Amanda Waller and the others saw Clark, they instinctively pointed their guns at him, but soon realized that this was a very foolish move. "You better be careful. If the gun goes off accidentally, it will be a big deal," Leah said gloatingly. Clark said lightly, "Mom, this spaceship belongs to my family. Please withdraw your troops." His tone was already very polite, but Amanda Waller was a person who would not respond to soft words. Seeing Superman speaking so calmly, Amanda shamelessly argued, "Sorry, Mr. Superman, this is American territory, and American territory is sacred. Get out." Leah couldn't help but scold. He was not as good-tempered as Superman. What he hated most was someone speaking in official language in front of him. The Justice League is doing business, and outsiders should get out of the way. Amanda shuddered at Leah's scolding. She bit her lip tightly and looked at Leah in disbelief. "Very good, Avenger. I will report your behavior today truthfully to Mr. President. Am I afraid of you?" "Amanda Waller, this is the last time you are so presumptuous in front of me. Otherwise I will hand over a certain recording file about you to the Daily Planet," Leah said arrogantly. Amanda Waller, so arrogant just a moment ago, had a change of heart upon hearing the recording. It was evidence of her attempt to destroy Star City and frame Slade during the invasion of the Enhanced Core. HMPH, let's go." Amanda trembled with rage, but helpless, she could only wave her hand and lead her men away. After the AOC members left, Lee, Clark, and Viola walked to the central crater, where the spacecraft had crashed. Just then, Batman's small Batplane arrived finally. Is it him, the Batman from Gotham City? Why didn't you tell me you invited him? Clark asked in surprise. I didn't invite him, Lee shrugged and explained. Actually, it was the Batman satellite that discovered the spacecraft. Clark gave a look of understanding, narrowed his eyes at the Batplane, and suddenly smiled. No wonder, Batman is Bruce Wayne, a young billionaire with a satellite at home. In the face of the X-ray vision, any disguise seemed pale and powerless. Soon, Bruce Wayne's Batplane landed. He jumped out, and the first thing he saw was Superman. Superman and Batman's eyes met mid-air, locked for a full half-minute. While they exchanged glances, Lee leaped into the crater and inspected the spacecraft. To his surprise, the nearby meteorites contained no kryptonite. The spacecraft below was about 3 meters wide, but the bulk of the spacecraft was comprised of its bulge and engines. Using his X-ray vision, Lee spotted a girl, about 13 or 14, lying unconscious in the seat it open. Sunlight streamed into the spacecraft, illuminating the girl's skin with a brilliant whiteness. Her nose was small and delicate, and her features, seemingly meticulously sculpted, resembled a lovely work of art, evoking a sense of care and love. The little girl's long eyelashes fluttered, as if someone who had been in darkness for a long time suddenly saw the light. Are you Kal-El? The little girl asked Lee tentatively, clearly mistaking Lee for someone else. I'm not Kal, I'm his friend, Lee Rogers. Lee carried the little girl out of the spaceship like a princess, then slowly flew out of the pit. At this moment, Superman and Batman finally ended their 30-second stare-down. Who is she? Batman asked warily. Lee didn't respond to his question. Superman walked over to the little Batman girl, his eyes fixed on the House of L symbol on her clothes. He asked in a complicated tone, are you from the House of L? Yes, the little girl also stared at the symbol on Superman's chest. After Leah set her on the ground, she threw herself into Clark's arms and said with a smile, Carl, I finally found you. Clark patted the little girl on the back, bewildered. Do you recognize me? Of course I'm your cousin, Kara Zor-El. When you were sent to Earth, my parents asked me to come with you on your ship and protect you, Kara said excitedly. A 13 or 14-year-old girl, born to be Superman's cousin, Batman Bruce Wayne's expression suddenly became strange. You said you came on Superman's ship? Why did you arrive 10 years after Superman? Clark looked at Kara with confusion. It wasn't that he doubted Kara's identity, but rather that he was extremely curious about what had happened in between. Kara glanced at Batman and instinctively shrank back. My spaceship was attacked by them, causing me to veer off course and crash into the Phantom Zone. Their attack? Who are they? What is the Phantom Zone? Clark and Bruce Wayne asked simultaneously, glancing at each other, their eyes sparking. Hey, can you two stop interrupting? Let's hear Kara go on. Lee patted Kara's shoulder soothingly, forcing what he thought was a rather sunny smile. You go ahead and tell me your story. I crashed into the Phantom Zone, and what happened next? Kara nodded and continued, the Phantom Zone is an isolated region of the universe where time doesn't pass. I slept for many years until they discovered me again. Somehow, while fleeing, I escaped the Phantom Zone. Leah's doubts were resolved. Kara had been in the Phantom Zone for years and finally escaped, so it was natural that she wouldn't have brought the kryptonite with her. Who are they? Clark, still focused on the invaders, asked again. The mechanical life forms, or rather, mechanical zombies, are Brainiac's minions, and Brainiac wants Krypton. Kara's tone was tinged with fear. Brainiac, also known as Brainiac in English, is a computer-shaped artificial intelligence with a level 12 intelligence, making him arguably the smartest being in the DC universe. As an artificial intelligence, the meaning of his life lies in collecting. Known as the Cosmic Collector, Brainiac enjoys conquering and collecting planets. Hearing Kara's answer, Clark's confusion deepened. Why did my father tell me that Krypton was destroyed by resource depletion? He didn't tell me about any foreign invasions. Your father? Kara was stunned for a moment, then understood. You mean Uncle Jor-El's shadow consciousness? Yes, Krypton was indeed on the verge of destruction due to resource depletion at the time, and your father's shadow consciousness was created at that time. But, just when Krypton was at its wit's end, Brainiac appeared. Chapter 118, Let's go home first. Brain interaction, you mean Brainiac? He destroyed Krypton, Clark learned of this artificial intelligence from her father's knowledge. In other words, Krypton was once invaded by Brainiac, a war that mobilized nearly all of Krypton's military, but ultimately Krypton won. Despite heavy losses on Krypton, Brainiac's core was severely damaged, forcing him to retreat to Comet for repairs. However, the war affected Krypton at the time, sowing the seeds of its eventual destruction. When Krypton was on the brink of destruction, Brainiac, or rather his clone, reappeared. The clone claimed to be able to prevent Krypton's explosion, but only if it became his own. While he wasn't the primary culprit for Krypton's destruction, it was his cybernetic zombies that massacred the Kryptonian civilians. Many could have escaped, Kara said with a touch of sadness. Clark gave her cousin a hug and soothed her. It's okay. Even if Krypton is destroyed, you still have me. I'm glad to see your family survive. I'm glad to see you again, Kel. Tears clouded Kara's eyes as she wept with joy, a brilliant smile breaking forth. In Kryptonian culture, even if their homeland is destroyed, as long as they can be with their family, they can overcome any difficulty. Fyra stood beside Lee, smiled, and gave a Kryptonian salute. Greetings, eldest daughter of the House of L. Who are you? Are you also a Kryptonian? Kara's eyes lit up. She sensed the woman before she had distinct Kryptonian features, but she lacked a family crest, making it impossible to determine her true identity. Fyra replied respectfully, of course. I once served in Zod's Legion. I was General Zod's lieutenant, Fyra. I was born a common soldier, without my own family crest. General Zod is also on Earth. Kara's gaze suddenly brightened. The El and Zod families have deep roots, having been both enemies and friends for many years. However, during Krypton's final crisis, the two sides suddenly fell out, contributing to Krypton's inability to resist Brainiac's invasion. Had Zod not launched a coup before his destruction, Superman's father, Jor-El, would not have imprisoned Krypton's most elite legions. Clark shook his head. General Zod wants to transform Earth into Krypton. To stop him, we must defeat him. As the daughter of a scientific family, Karen naturally understood the consequences of transforming Earth into Krypton. Earth's human population would be unable to adapt to the Kryptonian environment and would be completely exterminated. With her kind heart, she absolutely could not bear to see innocent Earthlings affected. What about Fyra? What's wrong with her? Kara was puzzled. How could Zod be dead, and his lieutenant still stood there as if nothing had happened? Fyra was so captivated by my charisma that she immediately turned from evil to good and pledged eternal loyalty to the Justice League. Leah, taking advantage of the arrival of the future Supergirl, Kara, was naturally trying her best to deceive her. Superman and Batman rolled their eyes at the audacity of someone, saying, I'll just smile and say nothing, but Kara, taking Leah's words seriously, turned her gaze to the person in question, Fyra, expectantly, and asked, Really? Did he really ask you to give up destroying the Earth? Others might not have been so convinced, but Fyra, a subordinate's unwavering obedience to their direct superior, decisively, yes, everything the Avenger General said is true. Leah mentally gave Fyra a thumbs up and declared she had to get her a chicken drumstick for dinner tonight. Kara's eyes sparkled as she looked at Leah. Batman couldn't bear to watch. Kara looked only 13 or 14, not even an adult, and he expressed deep contempt for Leah's shameless deception of an underage girl. Ahem. Excuse me for interrupting you. I have a question. You just mentioned seeing mechanical zombies, Brainiacs and the like in the Phantom Zone. Will they pose a threat to Earth? Batman asked. Everyone's expressions grew serious, especially Fyra, who had often heard of the Battle of Brainiac. Her parents had died in that war, and Fyra had grown up in its shadow. Kara's smile faded, her eyes growing serious. Brainiac likes to hide planets with life. He's the public enemy of all natural life in the universe. But don't worry. Brainiac's original self was severely damaged many years ago, and this time it's one of his clones that's invading. My mother told me that Earth's yellow solar energy makes us incredibly powerful. Me, Kel, and Fyra, together, we can defeat them. Lee put her hands on her hips in dissatisfaction. Hey, Kara, did you forget about me? I'm powerful too. Hearing Lee's words, Kara gave an apologetic smile. By the way, I forgot to ask you. Are you from Krypton? I don't think so, and I've never seen your family crest before. Kara, curious, mistook Lee's symbol for a family crest. I'm from Earth, an Earthling with superpowers. My powers are very similar to yours, so you can understand it that way, Lee explained simply. Cool, Kara quickly corrected. Then you can count as one. Then she noticed someone nearby, wearing a bat mask and a thick bat suit, staring at her expressionlessly. Sir, do you have superpowers too? Or, should I count you in? Kara finally realized she'd missed someone. She asked weakly, like a child who'd done something wrong. As a 13 or 14-year-old, Kara's adorable expression could melt steel. Batman Bruce Wayne averted his gaze and, after a long moment, managed to utter a few words. It's okay, I don't mind. Leah's face darkened, and he thought to himself, everyone can see you care, but he didn't say it out loud. Instead, he gave Fiora a look and said, Fiora, Kara just arrived on Earth. Familiarize her with Earth's culture. You're girls, so communication should be easier. Oh, and take her spaceship back too, to disguise his desire to lure the now inexperienced Kara, the future Supergirl, home. Leah blatantly cited the fact that girls communicate better. Clark, standing beside him, his smile faded, and he looked at Leah with a strange expression. Chapter 119, Heavy Krypton Gold. Clark's gaze filled Leah's veins with fear, but he remained stern as he looked at Superman and Batman. Our most pressing concern now is how to deal with Brainiac, or, as Kara calls him, his clone. Superman, how much do you know about Brainiac? Leah asked. Superman withdrew his gaze, thought for a moment, and said, I don't know much. Most of what I know comes from my father. Someone's coming. Let's go to Batman and discuss it in detail. Clark kept a close eye on the surrounding area within a few hundred meters. Having just driven away the AOM members, a number of ordinary people had arrived. Leah had no problem with Superman's suggestion, but Batman was unhappy. Why are you going to my side? Wait, Avenger, you didn't tell Superman my identity, did you? Superman and Leah both laughed at this. Please, how could I reveal your identity? Superman also has X-ray vision. As long as you appear in front of him, do you still want to keep your identity a secret? Batman had an expression of are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, I have no secrets in front of you, just like when you were about to destroy the world, I was powerless in front of you. Superman smiled. Don't you think you are overly worried? You are wearing a Kryptonian alloy armor and a kryptonite smoke bomb on your waist. What, are you going to use that thing to blow me up? I just want to make sure you stand on your side. Batman took a deep breath and said. Superman's smile remained unchanged. If he wanted to kill Batman, the other party would not even have the chance to open the kryptonite smoke bomb. My position is very clear. I have always regarded myself as an American citizen. For the sake of peace on Earth, I do not hesitate to make enemies with my own people. Leah interrupted their conversation. Batman, you must get rid of your last kryptonite smoke bomb. If Superman turns bad, I will stop him, and the other people in the Justice League will stop him. This is the meaning of my forming the Justice League. LexCorp. Most of the weapons made from them were used on me. I can guarantee that this is his last stock. Leah had already scanned Wayne Group, Wayne Manor and the Batcave. Batman glanced at Superman and Leah and said, Avengers, I'll leave the kryptonite smoke bombs to you. Now, think about how to deal with Brainiac's clone. Kara said, he's artificial intelligence. Scientists on Earth have been studying artificial intelligence for a long time, but so far, no one has developed an intelligent being with its own thinking ability. However, what Batman is about to face is not only an intelligent being with its own thinking ability, but also a hobby of collecting planets with natural life. What about the 3 principles of robotics? Afterwards, the 3 of them went to Batman's Batcave. Batman used the control console to point all of Wayne Group's satellites at the sky. If anything approached the Earth, these satellites would sound an alarm. Do you think Brainiac's clone has already reached Earth? Leah asked surprisingly was the first to object. How is that possible? If he's been on Earth for so long, there's no reason my satellites couldn't detect him. Superman shook his head. It might be a little hurtful, but Batman, your equipment is no different from Stone Age equipment to Brainiac. He could easily evade your detection if he chose. Finally facing something that even money couldn't solve, Batman seemed deeply shaken. Leah suddenly thought of something and asked Superman, Superman, how does it do Krypton's technology compare to Brainiac's? Brainiac's is more advanced, but at its peak, Krypton's technology wasn't much behind Brainiac's. Otherwise, we wouldn't have won that battle, Superman said after a moment of silent reflection. That's no problem, Leah snapped his fingers and said, Bat, I'm actually planning to build a Kryptonian spaceship just to prevent this kind of situation. We can also upgrade your satellite. Simply put, Superman has the Kryptonian tech, you have the money, we can work together. Finally, fearing to frighten Batman, Lee added, and the technology and workers can be transferred to a batch of mass-produced intelligent machines. All you have to do is provide the necessary raw materials. Upon hearing this, Batman Bruce Wayne stammered, his mouth wide open. Alien technology is beyond the reach of any Earthling. Whether it's the American president, business tycoons, or ordinary citizens, the first public glimpse of alien technology was during the Battle of Metropolis. However, the largest alien spaceship was sucked into a black hole, and Superman had long since stuffed the world engine into the Fortress of Solitude. Humanity has no idea where it is. The only few pieces of Kryptonian armor and the remaining metal plates of the spaceship were hacked by Batman and made into Kryptonian alloy. But now, Lee told Bruce Wayne that if he paid, even just for the raw materials, he could instantly build you a spaceship representing the highest level of civilization in the universe. Not 998, just 98, and take that alien spaceship home. Okay, just ask for the price. But I need the same authority as you, Batman. Bruce Wayne excitedly agreed. He had always found driving limited edition sports cars and airplanes on Earth boring, but now, finally, the chance to fly an alien spaceship was a rare opportunity Bruce Wayne, one of the wealthiest men on Earth, certainly didn't want to miss. Lee said without hesitation, of course. As a purple member and investor of the Justice League, you deserve the highest authority. What do you think, Superman? After all, Superman was the vice president of the Justice League, and the one providing the technology, so Lee had to consult his opinion. Technology was priceless right now. No problem, Superman shrugged, acknowledging that he was the president and had the final say. It's a deal then. The raw materials for a spaceship are around 8 billion, and the upgrade satellites are 2 billion. All in all, for only 10 billion, I can equip you with a complete suite of alien technology, Lee said, her expression sincere and honest. Bruce Wayne pondered for a moment. A Nimitz-class aircraft carrier only costs $6 billion, so 10 billion for a complete suite of alien spacecraft was a steal. I'll pay 80 billion, and I'll also help with the renovations to my Batcave. The rest will cover the spaceship's daily maintenance. Bruce Wayne waved his hand. Any problem that could be solved with money was a problem for him. Chapter 120, Fiola, you have changed. Flying back to town with Clark, Lee spotted Fiola and Kara lounging on a rooftop. Kara had changed into normal Earth-style clothes and smeared sunscreen on her face, enjoying an afternoon sunbath. What are you two doing? Clark, hovering in midair, gazed questioningly at the two women chatting and laughing on the rooftop. Hearing Clark's voice, Kara exclaimed in surprise, Carl, I'm sunbathing. Fiola says that if you get more sun every day, you'll gain superpowers like you. Clark was stunned by this, then leaned over to Lee's ear and asked, does Fiola sunbathe on the rooftop every day? Yeah, Diana and I were out once, and she spent 2 days and 2 nights on the rooftop. If you didn't know better, you'd think she was cosplaying as a solar water heater. Lee briefly wondered if his subordinate had a brain defect. Kara stood on the eaves, glanced down, and called out, Kellex, get me some juice. I'm thirsty. Before Lee could ask who Kellex was, a silkworm-like steel robot, resembling a chrysalis, floated out of the room. Several metal tentacles emerged from its armor, one of which held a glass of bright orange juice. Kara took the juice from the chrysalis and sipped it, exclaiming, it's delicious. It's truly the legendary fruit juice. Fruit has been extinct on Krypton for thousands of years. Clark stared at the floating chrysalis. Is this a Kryptonian intelligent machine? Yes, I went to the Fortress of Solitude a while ago. Your father asked me to repair an intelligent machine. If I repaired one, I could have it replicate itself and help build spaceships, but I don't remember ever repairing it. Leah clearly remembered that she hadn't yet mastered several core technologies, and she was still a long way from truly repairing this intelligent machine. Hearing this, Kara proudly puffed out her underdeveloped, still airport-like chest. I fixed it. My father specializes in artificial intelligence development. I've watched him assemble all sorts of machines since I was a kid. Intelligence machines like this one had been out of use for years, so I fixed it and upgraded the system at the same time. I named it Kellex, after fixing it, and even upgrading the system. Leah was suddenly struck. He'd been tinkering with it for days, yet he still hadn't fully grasped the knowledge in his head. And this girl, just a few hours into her first day here, Not only had she fixed the intelligent machine but also upgraded it. Was this the legendary racial talent? Thank you, Kara, but I have to send the intelligent machine to the Fortress of Solitude to allow it to replicate itself, and your spaceship must also be sent there, Leah said. Kara stared at Leah expectantly. Can I go with you, General Leah? Kara, you can call me Brother Leah. Fiola, are you teaching Kara some weird stuff? Leah asked sternly. Fiola looked at Leah with an even more serious look. Report, General Leah, it's not me, I didn't do it, don't talk nonsense. What the hell? Even Fiola would deny it 3 times in a row. Leah slapped his forehead and stared at Fiola in disbelief. My God, Fiola, you have changed. I remember you were not like this before. Superman on the side finally couldn't help laughing. Leah, you can't blame Fiola for this. You have to know that what kind of generals are what kind of soldiers. Leah's old face turned red when he heard this. Let's go to the North Pole, Fiola. Remember to wait for Diana to finish class and let her cook dinner. Fiola stood on the roof and saluted Leah. Yes, I obey your orders. Report to General Leah. Actually I can. No, you can't. If you dare to get within 5 meters of the kitchen, I will expel you from the earth and exile you to the Phantom Zone forever. Leah righteously rejected Fiola's temptation on the edge of danger. The last time that guy entered the kitchen, he nearly blew up his house. Leah didn't want to come home today to find his uncle's house gone. In Central City, Barry's 15th day as the Flash. Having just discovered his super speed, Barry nearly died when confronted by his first superpowered user. Thanks to the remote advice of the 3 people from Advanced Technology Labs, he was saved. Barry's adoptive father, Central City Police Officer Joe West, was the first person besides the 3 from Advanced Technology Labs to learn of Barry's identity as the Flash. He warned Barry against any danger, explaining that he was simply struck by lightning. However, after witnessing Leah and Diana beating up the enhanced human, and later learning about the alien invasion of Metropolis, Barry realized his previous perception of the world was completely wrong. This world isn't as peaceful as it seems. Barry Allen couldn't pretend to be an ordinary person, going to work and coming home as usual, indifferent to the world's dangers. Thus, the Flash was born. In the past 2 weeks, he'd prevented approximately 60 pedestrians from being hit by cars, about 20 thieves he'd accidentally spotted stealing wallets, over a dozen armed robberies, and 4 cases involving augmented humans. Barry, a Hummer, was hijacked on West Street and was rampaging through the street, injuring many pedestrians. The police have deployed a large force, but it seems they haven't caught the speedster, Cisco said, taking a sip of his milk tea and tapping the console with one hand. Barry's complaints came over the communicator. Please, I'm preparing dinner for Iris, and I have to pick her up from get off work later. Well, it's only 1 in the afternoon, and it feels like a century has passed. Why has only an hour in real time passed? Thanks to Leah's advice, Barry had opened up to Iris before he was struck by lightning. They both understood each other's feelings, and naturally, they got together. On West Street, 3 police cars were chasing a yellow Hummer, and 2 more police cars came to support them. The owner of the yellow Hummer had no choice but to turn and try to escape through an alley. Officer West, the robbers are heading in your direction. Well done. Officer West of the Central City Police Department led his men and blocked the yellow Hummer's path with police cars. Everyone held their pistols and stood ready. A moment later, the roar of the engine resounded throughout the street, and a yellow Hummer rushed towards the police officers who were blocking the way. When he saw the people who were trying to stop him, instead of slowing down, he stepped on the accelerator to the lowest level. Stop immediately, or I will shoot. Chapter 121, The Man Who Can't Run Away at the Critical Moment. According to American law, police have the right to shoot and kill dangerous criminals if warnings are ineffective. Confronted by the police, the Hummer driver not only ignored the warnings but instead rammed the police car. Fuck, this guy's a lunatic, Officer West cursed, then fired several rounds into the driver's cab. Bang! 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 A volley of bullets whizzed out. Officer West expected to see the criminal shot dead, but instead, the bullet struck the criminal with only a series of sparks. Unharmed. What the hell? Officer West stared, his eyes wide open. He thought he'd just seen the man's skin turn to the color of steel as the bullets passed. Is he a superpower? As this thought formed Officer West's mind, the yellow Hummer had already driven in front of him, barreling towards him at a speed of 120 miles per hour. Faced with a speeding Hummer, Officer West didn't even have the chance to dodge. No matter how fast an average person's reflexes are, they can't outpace a speeding car. Swoosh! Just then, a flash of lightning flashed, and Officer West suddenly vanished. By the time he came to his senses, he had reappeared at the edge of the street. Boom! The speeding Hummer rammed through two surrounding police cars, and with a burst of laughter, he sped away. "Officer West, are you okay?" The officers who followed saw this thrilling scene and couldn't help but sweat for him. Officer West remained quite calm. After all, it wasn't the first time he'd been driven by the man who was known as the fastest man. "Thank you, Barry." "Ahem, Flash, I see something's wrong with that robber." "You're welcome, officer. I'll keep an eye on it." Seeing that his adoptive father was okay, Barry flashed again, transforming into a flash of lightning and instantly crossing the street, chasing after the yellow Hummer. The officers stared at the speeding lightning. Officer West, that man just now was, could he be the Flash, the hero of Central City?" Officer West said with a complex tone. He was proud of Barry, yet he couldn't help but worry about his safety. Barry Allen, the Flash, was incredibly fast. In a moment, he caught up with the Hummer and stopped 100 meters ahead. With his hands on his hips, he jokingly said, "Sir, you are speeding. Please exit the vehicle for inspection." If the man refused to comply, Barry would simply drag him out of the car. The man, recognizing the hero of Central City, smiled maliciously and slammed the brakes, bringing the car to a slow stop. "Yes, Flash." As he spoke, a burly man with slicked back hair and a vest exited the car. He placed his right hand on the car door and, with a gentle push, ripped it open. Then, with a powerful swing of his hands, he slammed the Hummer's door towards Barry. Superpower. Barry understood why Officer West had said the man was off. It turned out he was a superpowered being. An ordinary person wouldn't have the strength to tear down a car door, especially one as sturdy and durable as a Hummer. Barry dodged the man's hurling door and instantly closed it, swinging his fist and punching him in the face. But, as Barry's fist made contact with the man's skin, it suddenly transformed into metal. Barry's punch was like striking a thick sheet of metal with all his might. Crack! A sharp pain ripped through him, and Barry rolled to the ground. His wrist was strangely bent, clearly broken. Cisco, who had been monitoring Barry's condition through his headset, noticed something unusual and immediately demanded, "Barry, your heartbeat is so fast." "What happened?" Barry, enduring the excruciating pain, climbed to his feet. "My hand's broken." The other person is a metahuman, someone whose skin can turn to metal. Seeing Barry stumble to his feet in his Flash suit, the burly man sneered as he approached him, saying, "Your powers are useless. It seems you were born to take a beating." Before he could finish his words, he clenched his fist, his entire arm transforming into a metallic form. With a sudden swing of his hand, he sent the stunned Barry flying. Barry gasped in pain. This was the first time he'd been knocked to the ground since gaining his powers. The Flash suit were instruments that monitored various aspects of Barry's health and transmitted the data to the cutting-edge technology lab. "Oh my god, Barry's function is deteriorating rapidly. He's in the same state as if he'd been run over by a heavy truck." Cisco panicked. Caitlin, standing nearby, grabbed the phone and shouted at Barry, "Run! Get out of there! Barry, run!" The metal man, watching Barry lying on the ground after being beaten, sneered and approached. Hearing Caitlin's words, Barry frantically mobilized his speed force and, with immense fortitude, bore his wounds as he ran towards the cutting-edge laboratory. A distance that should have taken him a minute took him 10, and he fainted several times. "Barry, are you okay?" Cisco and the others saw the man tumble to the ground the moment a flash of lightning appeared in the lab. They rushed forward to help him up. "Oh my god. His hands, bones and ribs are all broken. Get him to the lab table." Caitlin, who holds a doctorate in bioengineering, served as a biological researcher and doctor within Team Flash. Harrison Wells sat in a wheelchair, watching indifferently as Cisco and Caitlin carried Barry to the test bench and performed emergency treatment. An hour and a half later, Barry awoke to a throbbing pain. "Don't move. You've really broken your own record. 13 fractures in your hand, 3 broken ribs, and a concussion." Caitlin chided him, but despite her cold exterior, she was actually worried about Barry's safety. "Oh my god, am I hurt this? I'm done for. I still have to pick Iris up from get off work." Barry glanced at his immobilized arm, a look of despair in his eyes. "Alan, even with your super healing abilities, an injury this severe would take hours. Now, why don't you tell us badly what happened to you?" Harrison Wells, observing Barry's condition, suddenly felt a surge of empathy. After all, a few months ago, he'd experienced something far worse. That Humvee robber, when I was beating him, I saw his skin turn to steel, Barry said, swallowing the pain. Iron Man? Hiss, Cisco gasped excitedly. Could the person you met today be super? No. He's not Superman, nor an Avenger. I don't think he's invulnerable, but his skin has turned to metal. Barry denied Cisco's suspicions. P.S. Those who are skeptical will definitely criticize him. Oh, the Speed Force can't be this weak. The author is just messing around. First, Barry has just gained the Speed Force. He hasn't yet reached the ultimate invincible form, instantly killing everything, dodging everything, and daring everything. Second, Barry is just a forensics officer. Currently, his fighting relies solely on a few random hammer punches. Third, in American TV series, movies, and comics, the Flash always runs into his opponent's skills. If he can't run away in the crucial moment, how can he be called the Flash in vain? Most of the heroes described in this book are just starting out. Please don't compare them to their invincible state. Chapter 122, Leah's Identity. Man of Steel. Cisco didn't know why, but listening to Barry's description made him feel incredibly excited. Cisco, Man of Steel is Superman's exclusive adjective. When you mention this word, almost thinks of Superman, Caitlin said seriously, shutting down Cisco's thoughts. Barry sighed. Now is not the time to worry about names, okay? If we don't stop him, he will hurt more people. But how can I deal with an Iron Man? Harrison Wells slid the wheelchair over and patted Barry on the shoulder to comfort him. Don't worry, we will find a way. Before that, Cisco, check the surveillance and find out who that man is. No problem, finding people is what I'm best at. Cisco ran to the main control computer and typed rapidly on the keyboard. At the same time, he said, wow, after the metal man hijacked the Hummer, he robbed 3 ATMs. The surveillance took a picture of him. I just need to match his picture with a database. While waiting for the database comparison, Barry half sat up from the bed. He looked at, and a smile suddenly appeared at the corner of his mouth. If I say, to deal with the metal man, we can find some external help, someone stronger than him, looking for everyone stronger external help? Barry, are you planning on Superman, the Avengers, or Wonder Woman? No offense, but even Green Arrow from next door Star City might not be able to help against this invulnerable superpower. Cisco grumbled as usual, refusing to believe Barry knew Superman and the others. But when he saw Barry's serious expression, his heart trembled. Wait, Barry, were you kidding? Of course not. Maybe I could use this opportunity to give him a call. Barry jumped out of bed. While his injuries weren't fully healed, they would be fine with vigorous exercise. Oh my God, this time it was Cisco and Caitlin's turn to be surprised, both with incredulous expressions. Are you serious? Barry, you know, just one of them, or all of them. Only Harrison Wells remained calmer. Lee had promised not to interfere with his return to the future, and now he wasn't as repulsive to Lee as he had been at first. Barry pulled out his phone. Of course I don't know all of them, just one of them. I think I've met the other one twice. We're not very close, but she'd definitely say hello if we met, but only if I said hello first. Anyway, I'll go make the call. With that, Barry ran down the hallway, phone in hand, and dialed Leah's number. Cisco and Caitlin looked at him with a hint of surprise. Caitlin, did you notice Barry used she? He knows Wonder Woman. Oh my God, how did Barry do that? He was just a clerk in the forensics department before he passed out. Caitlin was filled with envy. Even more infuriating, Barry had never told them. In the hallway, Barry held up the phone and dialed Leah's number. The call connected quickly, but the voice on the other end was incredibly noisy, as if a strong wind was blowing through. Hi, Barry, are you awake? Hi, I've been awake for almost half a month now. Leah, I heard you visited me often while I was in a coma. I'm really grateful. You're welcome. Come see me in Metropolis whenever you're free. Hey, Leah, it's like this. How should I put it? After I woke up, I discovered I had superpowers, super speed. Inspired by you, I started using my speed to help others, but I'm running into little trouble now. I see. Give me 10 minutes, I'll be right there. I'm at the Advanced Technology Lab. By the way, didn't you say it only takes 3 minutes to fly from Metropolis to Central City? Barry was curious about the extra 7 minutes. Because I've been at the North Pole lately. 10 minutes later. Cisco, Caitlin, and Dr. Harrison Wells were waiting in the backyard of the Advanced Technology Lab. A sonic boom rumbled from the sky, and a black figure descended from the sky, shattering the ground beneath their feet before landing in front of them. Avengers. Cisco's body trembled with excitement. He rushed to Leah, pen and paper ready. Avengers. It's really you. I'm a huge fan. Can you sign an autograph for me? He gazed at Leah expectantly. Caitlin was also thrilled, but despite her aloof exterior, she didn't show it. She simply looked Leah up and down, whispering, "Barry, I feel like I've seen an Avenger somewhere before." Barry hadn't revealed Leah's identity. Hearing Caitlin's question, he coughed softly. "Of course you have. A while ago, the news reported that he and Batman saved Gotham City together." Asked for an autograph, Leah smiled, took the pen and paper, and quickly wrote, "To my friend, Cisco Ramon, signed, Avengers." Cisco excitedly took Leah's signature, but the first glance at it stunned him. Noticing something off about Cisco's expression, Caitlin stepped forward. "What's wrong? What did the Avengers write you? To my friend, Cisco Ramon? How did you know his name? Even if you have X-ray vision, Cisco doesn't have any identification." "Lee. You're Lee." Cisco stared at Lee for a long moment before finally returning to the future. "Oh my god. The Avenger is Lee, Barry. How could you not tell me Lee was an Avenger? God, I want to break up with you." Cisco roared at the top of his lungs, as if he had done something truly outrageous. "Come on, Cisco, just like you won't reveal my identity, this kind of thing needs to be told to you personally," Barry retorted. "Indeed, this is true. A sensitive topic like true identity will only be revealed with a person's approval." Upon learning Leah's true identity, Cisco and Caitlin's friendship with her instantly increased. This increase had nothing to do with Leah's identity, but rather with Leah's choice to trust them, and they, in return, trusted her. Ling. Congratulations to the host on raising your friendship with Cisco Ramon to trusted. The effect of your primary card has increased to 55%, and that of your secondary card has increased to 30%, Snow to trusted. The effect of your primary card has increased to 55%, and that of your secondary card has increased to 30%, Ling. Congratulations to the host on raising your friendship with Barry Allen to trusted. The effect of your primary card has increased to 55%, and that of your secondary card has increased to 30%, Ling. Congratulations to the host on raising your friendship with Barry Allen to trusted increased to 30%. Barry Allen's friendship boost was indeed a pleasant surprise, but also understandable. Not only did they already have a strong friendship, but now that Barry was in trouble, Leah came to his aid without a word, shocking her two unsuspecting friends and leaving him feeling secretly delighted. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123, Supersonic Boxing. Barry, the data comparison results are in. Metal Man vs. Steel Man. It's time for a show, Cisco urged everyone to return to their work. Barry scoffed at Cisco's suggestion. A show? Don't you know Leah's abilities? I have a feeling this will be a one-sided massacre. Barry, I think you need to ask Leah for advice on how to use your abilities, or learn some fighting techniques. Caitlin's right, Barry. You fight like a child, throwing punches haphazardly. There's no method at all. Forget about unleashing maximum power while moving at breakneck speed. You really should learn from a senior, Cisco chimed in. Barry had already noticed this, and took the opportunity to ask Leah for some combat tips. Leah was happy to share her experience. Harrison Wells followed silently at the back, feeling mixed emotions. Back in the command room, Cisco pulled up the data on his computer. This metal man is Tony Woodward. His criminal record is thicker than a phone book. 10 months ago, he slipped and fell into the molten iron at the Keystone Iron Ore plant. Wait, 10 months ago? Everyone exchanged glances, and Cisco continued, that explains it. Expression suddenly brightened. He used to go to elementary school with me, and he always bullied me in front of Iris. This was the reason Barry later hesitated to confess his feelings to Iris. As a child, he was always bullied, and he needed Iris, who had learned boxing, to protect him. Even as an adult, before gaining superpowers, Barry couldn't beat Iris. Recognizing the Metal Man as his former elementary school classmate, Barry was completely taken aback. Oh my god. When we were little, he could knock me down with one hand. Now that I'm grown up, even with my superpowers, I'm still so fragile in front of him. Metal Man Tony Woodward once again single-handedly beat the Flash, breaking his arm in 13 places, along with 3 broken ribs and a concussion. Leah stepped forward to comfort the shattered Barry. Hey, Barry, your strength isn't your strength. You have to understand that I can deliver 900 kilograms of force in one punch. My strength isn't as bad as you think, Barry protested, arguing that drawing power from the Speed Force hadn't just increased his speed, it had also boosted all his basic attributes. It was just his speed that was so exaggerated. Cisco casually asked, Leah, how much force can you pack in one punch? Batman tested it on me once. I hit him very lightly, and the dynamometer exploded. My ultimate strength couldn't even be tested, Leah shrugged. Then what is the maximum load-bearing capacity of the dynamometer you smashed? Convert Barry's data from kilograms to tons. 900 tons. There were gasps in the command room, especially from Harrison Wells, who stretched out his right hand and rubbed his temple, indicating that he didn't want to say anything more to this monster. Barry opened his mouth for a long time, but couldn't squeeze out a single word. Finally, he shook his head helplessly. Okay, I admit that strength is my shortcoming now. Leah, tell me how I should improve my strength. Leah smiled, standing face to face with Barry. He said, the first thing I must point out is that in battle, pure strength doesn't make you invincible. That's really ironic coming from you. Cisco laughed unkindly. Barry glared at the troublemaker. Cisco, don't you have anything to do right now? If you have nothing to do, why not go find Tony Woodward's hideout? Okay, I'll go find it. I'll hack into traffic surveillance and Quinn Group satellites. I'm not a professional hacker, so why do you have me doing this kind of thing all day long? Cisco complained, then sat back in front of his computer and began searching for Tony Woodward's location. Leah continued to instruct Barry, for you, I don't recommend learning any fighting techniques. You just need to master the technique of exerting force. The simplest punches, blocks, dodges, and kicks, combine with your speed, but that won't help me defeat Tony Woodward. I can't break his defense at all, Barry interrupted Leah anxiously. Leah shook her head. The key is your speed. According to the kinetic energy equation, when the mass of an object remains constant, the faster the speed, the greater the kinetic energy. As long as you hide him with enough speed, you can still cause tremendous damage. How fast do tremendous damage? You need to go. Barry naturally understood the law of kinetic energy. Listening to Leah's words, he seemed to see hope of defeating his opponent. You said that Metal Man can withstand bullets. Then, considering your weight, you'll need to punch him at a speed exceeding Mach 1.1, Mach 1.1. A punch at 837 miles per hour? Are you sure I won't be shattered to pieces? Barry was incredulous. Cisco couldn't help but join the discussion again. I just ran a simulation with a data model, and what Leah said is completely feasible. Supersonic punching, what a cool name. But Barry, with such terrifying kinetic energy, you can't afford any mistakes. Either you blow the Metal Man apart with one punch, or every bone in your body will be shattered. Let's start with the power generation technique first, Caitlin suggested. Barry nodded. Okay, let's learn the power techniques first. Then, Barry led Leah to a room in the basement of the Advanced Technology Laboratory. Since the particle accelerator explosion, many projects at the Advanced Technology Laboratory had been withdrawn, leaving the rooms free for use. This room is spacious, perfect for some exercise. Leah, let's get started, Barry said, flexing his shoulders and readying himself. Leah demonstrated a punching motion and then explained the key to attacking. Barry, when you're moving at high speed, you must maintain your center of gravity. Many amateurs like to throw large swinging punches, but at high speeds, swinging them will not only not increase your power, but will actually affect your balance. After demonstrating the basic offensive moves, Leah had Barry try to attack him, constantly pointing out his shortcomings as they progressed. At first, neither of them used their superpowers. After practicing for a while, Barry felt unsatisfied and used his super speed to confront Leah. The two practiced for a long time until Cisco answered the room's broadcast from the main control room and heard a voice. Barry, I have some bad news for you. We found the Metal Man Tony Woodward. He showed up at the coffee shop where Iris works. Chapter 124. Who the hell are you? 0.1. A concerned citizen in the coffee shop stepped forward to intervene, but after seeing Tony Woodward's ability to transform his skin into metal, he decided to take the safer route and called the police. Iris, I've seen you've been writing about the Flash in your blog. That guy couldn't last a single round against me. He's a weakling. You should be writing about me. Tony Woodward threw Iris into his car, locked the doors, got back in the driver's seat, and started the car. Hearing the mention of the Flash, Iris stopped calling for help and tried to calm herself. Tony, let me go now. I can let you off the hook. And there's a citywide warrant for you. Turn yourself in before it's too late. Turn yourself in? Iris, don't you see what I'm capable of? I have the Man of Steel and immense strength. Don't you understand? I'm a god. Not even Superman or the Avengers can stop me. Tony Woodward, after gaining superpowers, became visibly inflated, especially after calling himself the Man of Steel. He felt he could battle Superman. Wake up, you lunatic, Iris sneered. She'd known her elementary school classmate wasn't very smart, but now he dared to compare himself to Superman and the Avengers carried like a princess by someone wearing a red battlesuit with a lightning symbol on their chest. Flash. I knew you'd come to save me. Iris's eyes gleamed with a strange glint. She had no idea the Flash was her boyfriend, Barry Allen. She simply considered him a hero. Careful. That person's skin can turn to metal, Iris warned. She didn't want to leave just like that, but simply tried to stay as far away as possible. Tony Woodward noticed Iris was gone and immediately slammed on the brakes. After drifting down the street, he spotted the Flash behind him. You again. Didn't I beat you up enough this afternoon? This time, I won't let you get away. I'll crush every bone in your body, he spoke as he approached the Flash, clenching his fist. His skin suddenly glowed with a metallic sheen, and he unleashed a punch like a cannonball. However, the Flash, having trained that afternoon, was already mentally prepared. The moment Metal Tony swung his fist, a flash of lightning flashed in Barry's eyes, and in an instant, the world stopped. You're pathetically weak compared to that guy. Barry raised his foot, circling behind Metal Tony. As the man leaned forward, Barry's kick landed squarely on his butt. Before Metal Tony could even throw a punch, he felt a kick from behind, sending him careening backward, landing on the ground. The onlookers burst into laughter, snapping photos with their phones. Seeing himself being treated like a joke, Metal Tony flew into rage. He rose from the ground, waving his arms wildly, attempting to break the Flash's bones. No reason why he'd have to falter against Metal Man Tony. After a flurry of effortless dodging and maneuvering, Barry's high-speed combat became even more effective. Roar, Metal Man Tony had suffered a number of blows at the hands of the Flash. While he hadn't sustained any serious damage, the feeling of being laughed at was unpleasant. I advise you to surrender. You have no chance of winning. The Flash kicked the Metal Man away again, stopping behind Tony Woodward and admonishing him. Surrender? Don't give me a smug look. The Metal Man slowly rose from the ground, suddenly reaching out to the crowd and grabbing a girl who was taking photos near him. Help! Help! I was just passing by and wanted to send a tweet. The white girl in a dress struggled desperately, but Metal Tony's grip was stronger than iron pliers, making it impossible for her to break free. Flash, if you don't want me to crush this woman to death, just stand still, Metal Tony threatened with a hostage, and Flash glared at him. Don't hurt innocent people, let her go, haha, you're such an idiot. Who cares about the life of an insignificant person? Only you. The Metal Man grabbed the hostage in one hand, walked up to the Flash, and swung his other fist towards his face. A solid blow would have shattered half the bones in Barry Allen's face. But Barry remained motionless, letting the fist fall upon him. Go to hell, Flash, Metal Tony grinned, increasing the force of his fist, intending to finish off the troublemaker with one blow. Iris, far away, covered her eyes, unable to bear the sight of what was about to happen. However, at the moment when Metal Tony's fist hit the Flash, his arm suddenly stopped in mid-air, as if he had been cast under a spell and could no longer move forward. Seeing this, the Flash smiled and took advantage of the moment when the Metal Man hesitated to rescue the hostage. Metal Tony, who was standing there, tried his best but still couldn't move his fist. He turned his head and saw that there was a man standing behind him, reaching out and grabbing his steel arm. Who the hell are you? Chapter 125, Storm is Coming. Needless to say, the one who intercepted the Metal Man's fist was Leah, who had been watching from the sidelines. Metal Man Tony Woodward, After hardening his entire body into metal, had achieved the combined strength of a mid-level blue elite, more than enough to take on even ordinary enhanced humans. However, for Li Yang, a person of that level was pitifully weak. "Hey, I'm asking you a question. Who are you, anyway?" Seeing Li Yang ignore him, Metal Man Tony angrily reached out and shoved Li Yang hard. However, Li Yang didn't budge, but the recoil sent him back a few steps. The scene was extremely awkward. Some of the onlookers burst into laughter, the tension vanishing, and many even pulled out their phones, taking photos and videos. "Idiot, don't you even know what an Avenger is? Black suit, black cape, and a capital A on his chest. He's an Giraffe. Did you know about the Battle of Metropolis a few months ago? It was him, Superman, and Wonder Woman who fought off the alien invaders." The chatter reached Metal Tony's ears. His mouth twitched, and he mechanically turned his head to look at Leah. You're an Avenger," but Leah ignored the idiot. He asked the Flash beside him, "Do you want me to help you take him out?" "No, I'd rather rely on my own strength. I want to try out the supersonic punch you taught me," the Flash said gravely, his eyes gleaming with fighting spirit. "That's the way it should be. At your current speed, to reach Mach 1.1, you'd need a 5.5-mile run-up. Then, use your full strength to strike his weakest point. If you're not careful, you'll be shattered to pieces." "Have you thought it through?" Leah warned. The Flash gravely. He had originally called Leah over today hoping for his help in defeating the Metal Man, but when Barry discovered the Metal Man was the same one who bullied him as a child, he resolved to become stronger and defeat him himself. "Don't worry, Avenger, I won't let you down." The Flash's eyes flashed with intense lightning. "That weakling, then stand by me? Don't you realize I'm made of steel, just like you? You seem so confident in your own strength." Leah looked at him like an idiot. "Of course, how about we have a sparring match?" Tony Woodward, transformed into his metallic form once again, roared, and swung his fist towards Leah's face. Leah stood there, watching the Metal Man with a look of concern for his feeble-minded self. Most of the people around him, like Tony Woodward, only knew of Superman and the Avengers' power from various news media reports. After all, any footage of the Battle of Metropolis had been censored by the government. For most people, their impression of Superman or the Avengers consisted of Superman saving a plane today, the Avengers apprehending a criminal tomorrow, and Superman and the Avengers saving Metropolis the day after tomorrow. This kind of reporting failed to fully grasp their true strength. Only the witnesses of the events themselves knew the true story. Seeing the Metal Man crowd about to engage the Avengers, they fell silent, their gaze fixed on the scene. Though the Metal Man's fists were swift, Leah saw them moving at the speed of a snail. It took Leah a full half-second to see the Flash reach the right distance through the crowd, and then another half-second to reach out and snap his finger at the Metal Man's forehead. Bang! The sound of a heavy hammer hitting steel echoed, and as if struck by an irresistible force, the Metal Man flew backwards, slamming into a wall behind him and shattering it completely. Metal Man Tony struggled to his feet from the rubble. He still maintained his metal form, but there was a finger mark on his forehead, deeply indented. "Asshole," he covered his head and cursed softly. He had thought that since he was also made of steel, even if he couldn't compare to Superman and the others, he wouldn't be much worse. But in the end, he couldn't even block a single finger from the other party. So embarrassing. "Avengers, I'll remember you. Just wait." After a non-threatening remark, Tony Woodward scrambled to his car, intending to escape. "Tony Woodward, you are sentenced to life imprisonment for theft, robbery, attempted kidnapping, and being unattractive." Leah read out Tony Woodward's charges and the verdict in a deep voice. As if his words were followed by law, invisible shackles slammed down upon the Metal Man, as if they would not disappear unless he was imprisoned. This was the power of the god of punishment. Upon judgment, an invisible shackle would appear upon the criminal. As Leah completed his judgment, for example, executing a death sentence or imprisoning an imprisoned person, Leah's divine power would intensify. Of course, the effect of the shackles wasn't absolute, but rather dependent on the strength of the person being judged. Beings more powerful than Leah could even ignore the shackles. Conversely, Leah's divine power would increase even more rapidly when judging those more powerful than himself. Initially, the Metal Man Tony dismissed Leah's words, but suddenly, his body sank, and even walking became incredibly difficult. "What's going on?" Tony gritted his teeth, the metal on his body gleaming with a brilliant sheen as he barely managed to keep his balance. In the distance, a sonic boom rumbled, shattering the glass along the street. A flash of lightning flashed, carrying an endless blast of air. Barry's speed surpassed Mach 1.1, instantly rushing in front of the Metal Man Tony and punching him. Boom. Bound by invisible shackles, the Metal Man had no way to resist. Barry's supersonic punch crashed down, sending him flying once again, slamming into the wall on the other side, shattering it. Barry paused until a throbbing pain in his arm reached him. Then, a beaming smile spread across his face. I did it, haha. I finally beat him. He excitedly glanced at Lee, pressed the communicator in his ear, and announced to his friends in the cutting-edge lab, I did it. I defeated Metal Man with a supersonic punch. Cisco and Caitlin celebrated with a high five on the other end of the line. Barry, well done. I almost thought you were going to have a complete shattered bone, but you're more capable than I thought. The voices stopped abruptly, and a busy tone echoed through the communicator. Hello, can you hear me? Barry pressed the communicator again, but there was no improvement. Not only Barry's communicator, but the crowd around him also erupted in a commotion, as they noticed that all the electronics in the room had malfunctioned. Avengers, what's going on? Barry asked, approaching Lee. Lee's gaze flickered to the wall-mounted TV in a street-side snack bar. After a moment of white light, 3 purple circles suddenly appeared on the screen, forming a V-shaped pattern. I've been looking for you for half a month, and you finally showed up. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.